Chapter 411. Yi Hong said gravely, Zishan, these few days I have already said it countless of times, I will only do that thing with you after I become successful and famous. Otherwise in my heart that, you don't like me anymore. Nope, I like you. Bring it up then. Not really, I want to make a career. Forget it, I will go and look for his honor to grant me death. Yi Hong was a bit troubled recently. In the beginning Zishan was still fine and Zishan seemed to have promised me, but gradually, at night, Zishan began to talk about this serious problem, whether or not they should share a bed first before making a career. Zishan even said that she was very bored and wanted to give birth to a child to play with. I, Yi Hong, am a man. The words that I have said are like water that has been poured out. How can I go back on my words? However, the continuous rejections made Zishan angry. Yi Hong was very puzzled. In the beginning it was you who didn't want to share a bed with me and now you want to get angry because we are not on the same bed? This is too ridiculous. Why did Zishan do this? It was because she had been very close to Tang Wei recently, and after Tang Wei told Zishan about her experiences, Zishan became very worried, and thus, Zishan began to test Zishan crazily. In the end, this foolish brat actually didn't have any reaction, and he wasn't even willing to say it directly. This is not a good thing. After all, Zishan didn't want Yi Hong and Wei Chong to be like that, and she also didn't want to follow in Tang Wei's footsteps and Sun Fang's footsteps. However, looking at the current situation, Zishan was definitely going to follow in her footsteps. Inside Leisure Bar's office, Wei Chong received Death Mage's report and said respectfully, Your Honor, the people are here, everything has been cleaned up. That's good, you should go back and rest early, I am tired as well. Yi Hua yawned, seeming to be very bored. Wei Chong smiled slightly and said, Your Honor, have a good sleep. Have a good sleep. Yi Hua sneered a few times. With these two troublesome women around, how can I possibly have a good sleep? If you have the ability, don't let me worry about you. Wei Chong knew what his honor meant and laughed awkwardly, then disappeared from the office. Lying on the bed, Yi Hua once again enjoyed the feeling of being unable to sleep. Right now, without a woman in his embrace, I feel very unnatural. In the past I did have some small cards in Leisure Bar. If the two of you still don't come back, I am going to have a fur race. Heaven's sanctum. That night the entire imperial palace was brightly lit. As the Emperor Zhou Xian did not rest. He sat on the dragon throne and waited for news. The ministers stood obediently, hoping that General Wu Ma would return victoriously. The sky gradually brightened, illuminating the pitch-black night sky. Zhou Xian narrowed his eyes and stared at the sky outside. When the darkness dissipated and dawn arrived, everyone realized a problem. General Wu Ma would not be coming back. Ingwei, go and prepare the items needed for the sacrificial ceremony. We can only rely on Jizun now. Zhu Qingshuan's eyes were bloodshot and looked terrifying. Coupled with his exhausted expression, it was as if he would go berserk at any moment. Yes. Ingwei replied respectfully and left the hall. Zhu Qingshuan sat paralyzed on the throne and murmured, The blood aura is really effective. Everyone was dead silent after hearing this. After a long time, Zhu Qingshuan stood up, walked out of the hall and walked towards the royal altar. The royal altar was located in the north of the imperial palace. It was an independent place. The size of the altar was about the same as the entire imperial palace. After all, Jizun was a noble existence. If they were not pious, how could Jizun help them? At that moment, all the maids in the imperial palace were called over to help. As there were too many things to prepare, Zhu Qingshuan did not want to go to the back of the palace. He did not want to go to the bedroom either. He knew what the concubines would think. After a few hours, all the sacrificial items had been prepared. There were countless ancient godly items on the altar. There were even rare ancient godly items. Of course, the number was small. However, the fact that they were able to take out so many items showed how powerful the imperial palace was. Your Majesty, everything is ready. Ingwei bowed and said, Then let's begin. Zhu Qingshuan walked forward and picked up a small knife. He cut his finger and let his blood drip into the groove. As the blood of the imperial palace flowed into the altar, the entire altar changed. It was as if it had color. The complicated carvings around it started to rotate slowly. Zhu Qingshuan knelt on the cushion with sincerity and muttered in his heart. Following the rotation of the carvings on the ground, a complicated picture was formed. Soon after, the picture emitted a faint blue radiance. The blue radiance became brighter and brighter. It was like a blue flame, causing people's eyes to light up. Pooh! The blue radiance soared into the sky. The weapons on the altar instantly disappeared, and the blue radiance shot into the clouds and disappeared without a trace. In a small world, a man was playing the zither. The sound of the zither caused people to be intoxicated. Behind him stood two young men. Their expressions were filled with respect, and their gazes were filled with yearning. A ray of blue radiance suddenly descended. The man stopped playing the zither and said, "Go take a look." "Yes, father." The young man instantly disappeared and immediately returned. "Father, these are the godly weapons sent by Heaven's mansion." "It's good too. Forging a primordial sharp blade requires a lot of materials. This is far from enough." The man sighed. Forging a primordial sharp blade was too difficult. "Father, it seems like Heaven's mansion has met with some trouble." The other young man said softly. It seemed like he wanted to go take a look as well. The man waved his hand and the strange zither disappeared. Xing, father will take you out for a walk." "Thank you, father." The two young men were very excited. They could finally go out. A beautiful woman walked out of the house. "Hongtai, where are you going?" "It's time to eat." "Mother, father, take us out for a while." Hongtai turned to look at his wife. Heaven's mansion's royal family sent a signal. Something must have happened. "I'll go take a look. It'll take 2 or 3 days. Since something has happened, and Xing, should stay at home." "Mother, we're already grown up. We're not children anymore." Hong Yi pouted helplessly. "In mother's eyes, you'll always be children." Hong Tai said solemnly. "All right, the children have grown up. It's time to go out and experience the world. The situation is urgent, so we won't be eating." After speaking, he brought his 2 sons and left the small world. The woman watched her husband and children leave. Her heart sank. She felt that something bad was about to happen. Zhu Xian and Ying Wei stood on the altar waiting for the sovereign to arrive. A spiritual light flashed and 3 people suddenly appeared in front of them. This caused Zhu Xian and Ying Wei to be stunned for a moment. Soon after, the 2 of them shouted out in unison, "We pay our respects to sovereign." Chapter 4:12. Zhu Xian didn't dare to say too much and went straight to the point. "Your Honor, my son seemed to have offended an overlord, and that overlord killed all of my sons. Furthermore, he even said that he would bathe the imperial city in blood 3 days later. I have no other choice. Would an overlord be that bored?" Hong Tai laughed lightly. It was clear that he didn't believe what Hong Tai said. Overlords were all ethereal existences, and under normal circumstances, they wouldn't even appear and they wouldn't get involved in any disputes. Of course, that was except for the matter that happened a few years ago. That perverted skeleton did something that angered both humans and gods, and all of the overlords took revenge on him. At that time, Hong Tai and his master went to take revenge on him. However, his master died in that battle and his master was heartbroken. However, fortunately, those monsters that killed people like flies were all killed and the world returned to peace. Furthermore, it was under the encirclement of overlords, and right now, his strength had increased by who knows how many times. Even if an overlord were to encircle them again, a single fart from him would be able to suffocate them to death. "Your Honor, I didn't believe it at the start either. Yesterday, my general brought 100,000 troops to investigate, and he still hasn't returned yet. The odds are against him." Zhu Xian sighed. "That stupid son of mine actually caused such a huge trouble, and now I have to help him clean up his mess." Hong Tai disapprovingly said, "Seeing is believing. Tell me, how did you 2 offend that overlord?" Zhu Xian told Hong Tai about what his son said. "So it was because of Nuwa and East Emperor's bloodline, then it makes sense." Xing, what do you 2 think about this matter?" Hong Fei asked his 2 sons to see what they thought. Hong Yi said respectfully, "Father, I feel that with father's strength, you are not inferior to that overlord at all." Overlords were also divided into different levels, and within each level there would definitely be a difference in strength. What Hong Yi said is very true. Father's strength is boundless, and there isn't anyone in the entire universe who is as strong as father. From the looks of it, these 2 youngsters belong to the category of bootlicking. However, as a father, Hong Tai had lived in seclusion for a long time, and when he heard his son bootlicking, he couldn't help but laugh. "Emperor, you can be at ease. With me here, even if a few Jizun were to come, the Jizun would still have to give me some face, let alone an unknown Jizun. Hong Tai appeared to be very confident. After all, there was an agreement between the Jizun, and the Jizun was not allowed to kill each other. Zhu Xian heaved a huge sigh of relief. Since the supreme martial artist had spoken, then it must be fine. Your Honor, the room and food are ready. Yes, it's been a long time since I've tasted Heaven's Sanctum's food. Your Honor, rest assured, I will definitely entertain you well for the next few days. Emperor, you are too polite, Hong Tai said politely, but his arrogant attitude was not polite at all. It was more like it was a matter of course. Hong Yi and Hong Xing, who were following behind him, also had disdainful smiles on their faces. Their birth represented that they were extraordinary. Because their father was a supreme being, they should enjoy the respect of everyone. Even if the other party was an emperor, they still had to be respectful to them. Because the son of a supreme being is not someone you can afford to offend. Oh, Yihua means you can provoke my woman just because she is my woman? Then let me teach you what it means to not provoke someone. 3 days passed quickly. Today was Saturday and the weather was sunny. It was suitable for the whole family to travel together. It has been a very long time since I last brought my guild members out to do something big. Back then when I went to Ying family I didn't manage to enjoy that kind of bloodthirsty feeling. However, this time I hope that those deities will not disappoint me. Furthermore, he hoped that the deities would invite some powerful backers because he liked surprises. On the bed he wore a black suit. He tied his tie and touched his hair wax. Then he pressed his hair down and swept it back. This slicked back hairstyle was very handsome. Yihua looked at himself in the mirror. I'm still as outstanding as ever. Taking out a cigarette and lighting it up, Yihua opened the bedroom door and slowly walked down the stairs. He saw more than 10 people standing in the lounge of the bar. They were originally chatting happily, but when they heard the unique footsteps, they all stopped talking and immediately stood properly. Your Honor. When Yihua appeared in front of everyone knelt down on one knee and shouted out respectfully. Yihua raised his hand slightly and a formless power lifted everyone up. There were a lot of people who came today and there were even more than the last time. There were 4 of the 7 deadly sins. Wei Chong Lai Gu Yi Zizi Zhu Tian. Underlings. Death Mage Sun Fong Tang Wei Ran Wen Xia by Xiaozhen Zishan Green and Red Brothers. Zhu Tian's 2 maids did not come because Zhu Tian did not give them any strength, and Dongfang Yuer was still an ordinary person. However, Zhu Tian liked how ordinary they were because ordinary people wouldn't be able to last long, and after that they would start begging for mercy. And Zhu Tian liked how exciting they were when they were begging for mercy. Of course, there was also his sister-in-law Qin Yutong who was in the crowd. Brother-in-law is going to act cool again. Big sister will never be able to see brother-in-law act cool again in this lifetime. This time, including Yihua, the number of people who came this time reached 15. This made Yihua feel very happy. After all, there were only 8 people including me in the past. Right now, there are still 3 people who haven't returned, and there will be 15 people in the future. Looking at his subordinates, Yihua flicked away the cigarette butt in his hand and said gravely, Today, I only have one request. And that is to let go of yourself. A trace of an evil smile appeared on the corner of everyone's mouth. Even Zishan was the same. Within her body was Wei Chang's black fog, which would cause people to have a thirst for blood and become dependent on death. It would be fine if I didn't think about it, but once I thought about it, I couldn't help but want to make a move. Set off. Yihua shouted coldly and the 15 people instantly disappeared from Leisure Bar. Right now there wasn't a single person in the streets and alleys of Heavenly Province Imperial City, just like a dead city. The entire city was on high alert, and although no one knew what happened, they were sure that it was definitely something terrifying. And outside of the Imperial City, the Emperor had gathered 1 million soldiers. They stood on the vast and spacious prairie and waited for the arrival of the enemy, because they had to protect the homeland behind them. In the surroundings of the army, there were various kinds of high-level ancient beasts. Those ancient beasts were all being ridden by people, and those ancient beasts that were flying in the sky were also being ridden by people. There were even a few rarely seen wyverns. The wingspan of the wyverns were a few hundred meters, and when a few of them were flying together, it seemed as if they were going to cover the sky of the Imperial City. Within the army, there were also many people who were wearing various kinds of mage robes. These people were all big shots from various sects and clans in Heavenly Province Imperial City. Although they did not reach the level of overlords, they were still the overlords of a region, and their strength was not to be looked down upon. Meanwhile, Zhou Xian and Hong Tai were standing on top of the city wall, looking into the distance, and waiting. Those people wouldn't be scared to the point that they don't dare to come, right? Hong Xing suddenly laughed. Hong Yi, who was at the side, nodded his head. With such a battle formation, even if an overlord came, he would have to be somewhat afraid. Hong Tai laughed lightly. To dare to come, I, the supreme overlord, have to admire you. Chapter 413. Zhou Xian and Hong Tai's gaze became serious. Sky Teacher and the others were the same. They really came. Haha, so few people. They aren't even enough to fill the gaps between our teeth. Hong Yi laughed. He didn't feel scared at all. It wasn't only Hong Yi who thought so, the others were the same as well. Hong Xing looked at the group of people and said disdainfully, "There is one more woman than men, and there is also a little girl. Uncle, what kind of group is this? Are they here to make a joke?" "But these women are incomparably beautiful." Hong Yi interrupted. This caused the surrounding people to start sizing up the group of people. "Indeed, they are not bad. Your Majesty, that woman seems to be Marquis Lord's woman, Zhou Xian." Che Hongliang noticed Zhou Xian and whispered into the emperor's ear. Zhou Xian said coldly, "No matter who they are, those who are standing over there are all enemies." "Your Honor, what do you think?" Zhou Xian asked respectfully. Hong Tai thought that they were some big shots, but they were just some random people. He didn't even notice any Zhizun among them. After all, he had seen 70% to 80% of the Zhizun. Although he hadn't seen the rest of them before, they definitely wouldn't have the same attitude as these people. Especially the man who was smoking at the very front. Why did he look like he was asking for a beating? "Your Majesty, don't worry, these people don't even need me to do anything. I reckon that they will be scared away soon." It was normal for Hong Tai to have this kind of feeling because he didn't sense the aura of these people at all. Then there were only two possibilities. First, these people were all monsters that were stronger than him. Second, they used some kind of method to conceal their aura in order to intimidate him. The first possibility was definitely impossible. How could these 15 people all be stronger than him? Therefore, there was only the second possibility left. They used some kind of superior method to conceal their aura. Hearing what Zhizun said, Zhou Xian felt relieved. However, he still asked, "Your Honor, they still have 3 corpse Kuan." "They are merely corpse Kuan, there is nothing to fear." This time Zhou Xian was completely relieved. However, Sky Teacher, who was at the side, was worried. This matter isn't that simple. However, when Hong Tai looked at Yizizi, his gaze was a little curious. He felt as if he had seen this little girl somewhere before. She looks very similar, but her outer appearance is different. He thought to himself that he was thinking too much. Those people were all killed a few years ago. How could they appear again? Yizizi was indeed different from before, especially when it came to her image. Today Yizizi was wearing a cute lowly outfit. She was wearing a lace black dress, mesh stockings, and a pair of small children's shoes. Her hair was tied with a big bow and she looked like a lowly. She was also holding a small bag in her hand. She didn't look like she was here to fight but to shop. However, it was precisely because of this attire that Hong Tai dispelled his doubts. He only felt that they looked alike. If Yizizi was still the same as before, this Hong Tai would definitely run away without saying a word. Yi Hua's side was standing in a very orderly manner. His sister-in-law Qing Yutong would naturally have to stand by her brother-in-law's side, and by her side would be the 4 people from the 7 deadly sins, and after that would be the rest of the people. Everyone knew that today was an important day, and thus, they were especially meticulous when choosing their attire. After all, they mustn't throw away His Honor's face. The men were dressed in suits and leather shoes and the women were all in gowns. There were deep V's revealing backs, shoulders, etc. Anyway, there were all kinds of revealing. With this kind of attire, it looked like he was attending a ball and not going to bathe the imperial city in blood. However, this also meant that everyone's mentality was very good, and they were very relaxed. There are quite a lot of people here. Yi Hua looked at the 1,000,000 soldiers in front of him and muttered. "It has been a long time since I have seen such a scene, I truly miss it. Your Honor, do you want to take action now?" Wei Chong said in a low voice. Yi Hua said indifferently while smoking a cigarette, "Don't be anxious, let's have fun today. At the same time that I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to give them hope, I am also going to give them despair. According to the previous routine, I will start killing without saying anything, it will be simple and straightforward. However, I will also lose a lot of interesting things. For example, in a situation where they thought that they were going to win, I will ruthlessly slap them in the face. Compared to the former, that kind of despair is much more interesting. Lai Gu asked curiously, then what is hope? Zhou Xian said indifferently, right now they are in the midst of hope. They think that just because we have fewer people they will be able to defeat us easily. Lai Gu revealed out an expression of understanding. Yi Hua went into a slight daze. Is that so? I was still thinking of other methods just now, and I didn't expect that Zhou Xian would be able to see through my intentions. This is truly not bad. Let them feel despair first. A trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth as he flicked the cigarette in his hand. The remaining half of the cigarette flew into the air and made a muffled sound like firecrackers exploding. Sparks scattered in the air. Everyone looked up, not knowing what the other party meant. He didn't even know what the other party's intentions were. This guy sure knows how to act cool, Hong Yi laughed in a low voice. Trying to act cool in front of my father? You're really digging your own grave. Hong Xing sneered. Truly a bunch of fellows who didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. However, Hong Tai was much calmer. His eyes were filled with mockery as if he was watching a clown perform. As the Emperor Zhu Xian seemed to be infected by this relaxed feeling. Without any pressure, he watched with the attitude of enjoying the performance. It wasn't just them. Everyone on the city wall felt the same way. There was also the million-strong army. Of course, there were also the sect leaders of the various sections. They're just a motley crew. His Majesty even called us here. What a waste of time. That's right, just give the order to kill them. Perhaps, His Majesty wanted to enjoy the astonished expression of the other party. That's true. They thought that they were very awesome, but in the end they discovered that in front of an overlord this sort of awesomeness is nothing. That's right. Look at the ancient beasts on our side. That enormous dragon in the sky, what could they possibly have? A few beautiful women to put up a front? Truly laughable. When two sides fought, what they were competing on was their morale and imposing manner. Looking at the current situation, Yi Hua's imposing manner was inferior to the other parties. After all, the lineup of the other party was very strong. Even if an overlord came, he would have to be somewhat cowardly. Just as everyone was making fun of Yi Hua, a boundless and powerful energy swept over, causing everyone to be stunned. What is this thing? It hasn't even appeared yet, and it is already releasing such a powerful pressure. Hong Tai stared at the horizon and sensed the ferocious aura. Shock could be seen in his eyes, but it wasn't to the extent of fear. Of course, this was the feeling of a powerful overlord. However, it was different for others. Chapter 4:14. Even a god would panic when faced with an unknown species, let alone an unknown object that was giving off such a strong pressure. This made everyone's scalp go numb. Your Honor, just what is this thing? Zhu Qingshuan's natural state from just a moment ago was completely gone, and his expression was one of nervousness. Wave after wave of pressure caused people to be unable to breathe. Hong Tai said indifferently, it should be some kind of powerful creature. Hong Yi and Hong Xing, who were standing at the back, seemed very normal. After all, they were the children of supremes. They were born with a kind of immunity as if nothing in this world could do anything to them. Some kind of creature? Zhu Qingshuan murmured. The Daoist master's slightly narrowed eyes suddenly widened. This situation seemed to be described in an ancient book. The appearance of this creature brought destruction and rebirth. Its biggest characteristic was that one could feel the deep fear even before it appeared. That was a giant beast from the prehistoric times. Inferno Nether Dragon. Once this dragon appeared, not even a blade of grass would grow. This should be the Inferno Abyssal Dragon. The Celestial Master said in a deep voice. Zhu Qingshuan's expression changed drastically. The Inferno Abyssal Dragon shouldn't have appeared in Heaven's palace. Heavenly Master, are you mistaken? Zhu Qingshuan questioned because this was simply impossible. The Celestial Master shook his head. If the ancient book was not wrong, this was the characteristic of the Inferno Abyssal Dragon. Zhu Qingshuan gasped for air, then turned to Jizun and asked, Your Honor, this raging Inferno Nether Dragon? Of course I have heard of the raging Inferno Hades Dragon. This dragon is a prehistoric beast, and also an overlord of the prehistoric world. But don't worry, I can still deal with a raging Inferno Hades Dragon. Hong Tai said it casually, but his heart was a little heavy. because the other party could actually order the Inferno Abyssal Dragon. This was simply unimaginable. All prehistoric beasts had their own majesty. How could they bend their bodies and listen to someone? Unless this was not the Inferno Abyssal Dragon at all. The temperature of the air was gradually rising. Zhu Xian's forehead was covered in fine beads of sweat. The celestial master Che Hongliang and the others beside him were the same. Not to mention the millions of soldiers below. Their sweat had already soaked their armor, and even the sweat had flowed to the blades in their hands. After which the sweat dripped onto the ground, causing fine dust to rise. Suddenly, 3 black dots appeared in the sky. They looked very small like mosquitoes, but everyone was sure that this terrifying aura was coming from those 3 black dots. As the black dot got closer and closer, everyone could not help but gasp. The sage's mind was already buzzing. They really are Inferno Abyssal Dragons, and there are 3 of them. Zhou Xian looked towards Jizun. Your Honor, can you deal with 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons? Nonsense, my father, don't talk about 3. Even if 30 of them come, I will still slay them with my sword. Behind him, Hong Yi spoke up for his father. This emperor really didn't know how to speak. He actually dared to question his father's strength. Hong Xing was even more disdainful. Isn't it just a 3-headed dragon? My father will be chopped into minced meat in a matter of minutes. Isn't that right, father? Hong Tai revealed a confident smile. Of course. Although this Inferno Abyssal Dragon is powerful, it is nothing in my eyes. When Hong Yi and Hong Xing heard this, their faces were filled with pride. You trash were actually scared to this extent by a 3-headed dragon. Father will show you what true strength is. However, if someone were to observe carefully, they would notice that the current Hong Tai was very solemn. That expression just now was just an act. And these 2 children were also deceiving their father with their strength. However, this was also normal. They were spoiled and thought that their father was invincible. However, there were a lot of species that not even Jizun could afford to offend. Just like what Hong Tai said just now, he could still force back 1 Inferno Abyssal Dragon, but now there were 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragon. There was no longer any suspense. However, Hong Tai did not cower. If the enemies were to know that there was an Jizun protecting them, they would definitely not dare to make a move. Jizun was protected by a treaty. Jizun was not allowed to kill each other. With such a powerful backing, Hong Tai was not afraid in the slightest. However, I have already bragged about it. How am I going to deal with these 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons? If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have brought them along. As the 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons approached, the air seemed to be boiling. However, if one were to look down from the sky, wherever the 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons passed through was instantly scorched. Every time they flapped their wings, the ground would turn into a sea of fire. There were even huge cracks on the ground. Along the way they passed by 2 cities and a sect. Right now, the sect had already turned into a raging inferno. And this was just the flapping of those wide wings, and such a terrifying outcome was already created. This was unheard of. Roar. The 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons' roars gathered together, instantly causing the sky to tremble. Even the heaven and earth had turned into a sea of crimson red. How could an army of 1,000,000 withstand the roars of the Inferno Abyssal Dragons? Their eardrums instantly exploded. Their skin felt as if it was being burned by the high temperature. Blisters had already appeared on their skin. However, this dragon roar was just the 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons expressing their allegiance to the Supreme Sovereign, or perhaps they were saying, the Supreme Sovereign is the Supreme Sovereign. Imperial translation, Little Brother is here. Who does the Supreme Jizun want to deal with? When the Inferno Abyssal Dragons entered the battlefield, the flames on their bodies were gradually absorbed into their skin. At a glance, these 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons looked exactly the same. The dragon scales on their bodies were like iron and magma, completely red. Their eyes were like blazing suns looking down at the common people. When those blood-red wings spread out, they were 1,000 meters long. The 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons looked like they wanted to cover the entire sky. On the other hand, the Inferno Abyssal Dragons seemed a bit small. And when those ancient beasts sensed the aura emitted by the Inferno Abyssal Dragons, they all lowered their heads and submitted. Those in the sky even directly fell down and laid on the ground motionlessly. No matter how much their masters scolded them, they did not have any reaction. The only reaction they had was that their entire bodies were trembling. Everyone on the city wall looked at the gigantic dragons in front of them and did not know what to say. Even Hong Yi and Hong Xing, who had always been arrogant, were shocked by the size of the Inferno Abyssal Dragons. This was the first time that they had seen such a gigantic dragon. If we are able to ride on the back of the Inferno Abyssal Dragons, how awesome would that be? The 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons slowly landed on the ground, raising up a cloud of dust. Everyone felt threatened. Is this the main force of the Inferno Abyssal Dragons? If it is, then we have no chance of winning at all. We can only hope that the Zhizun is here. Hong Tai was also pondering. This is most likely the entire strength of the Inferno Abyssal Dragons. This is indeed not bad, very strong. However, something surprising happened. The 3 dragons actually hugged each other, and their gigantic dragon tails intersected above their heads, forming a platform. Yi Hua and the others instantly appeared on the platform. At this moment, they were truly able to look down on the entire imperial city, as well as that despicable deity. Yi Hua materialized an ordinary wooden chair and slowly sat on it, then lit up a cigarette and said, Chapter 4:15. Won't harm you all. Everyone became speechless. Won't harm anyone? You're lying with your eyes wide open. Although everyone thought so in their hearts, no one dared to say it out because the scene in front of them was really something that was hard to see even once in 10,000 years. The prehistoric beast Inferno Abyssal Dragon was actually hugging onto the other party like an obedient baby. Its legs were supporting its huge body, and its claws were tightly holding onto the other party's body. How sharp were the claws of the Inferno Abyssal Dragon? The scene was enough to prove that the claws directly pierced through the other party's indestructible dragon scales and pierced into the other party's flesh. Bright red blood flowed out from the wound, but this was only to hold the other party's body in place. Everyone was shocked by the scene in front of them. They didn't know what words to use to describe the scene in front of them. Just who are those people on top of the dragon? Just who are they? Hong Tai laughed lightly. I thought that the other party would directly attack us, but it turns out that the other party didn't even have the intention to do so. From the looks of it, the other party also knows of my existence, which is why they didn't dare to act rashly. Lord Father, your prestige has frightened them. Hong Yi revealed out a confident smile. Apart from being shocked, he also felt fortunate that he was born in Sovereign's family. Hong Tai said faintly, I am naturally able to suppress them. Emperor, you should be at ease now, right? And at ease. Right now, Zhou Xian had placed all of his hopes on Sovereign. Seems like Sovereign is still very afraid of me. If not, why didn't such a powerful prehistoric beast attack us? Yi Hua expressed, what do you know? Do you know what is called acting cool? You all are standing on top of the city wall while I am sitting on top of the dragon. The difference between us is immediately pulled apart. In actuality, all of these are just small scenes. However, being able to admire the astonished expressions of those deities, Yi Hua felt rather comfortable in his heart. What I did in the past was wrong. I had to do this every time before attacking and my status would instantly rise. Thinking about how I stood on top of Lai Gu in the past, Yi Hua felt very low. A bone standing on top of another bone, that scene is truly a bit unsightly. Those are all dark history that must be erased. Qin Yutong stood at her brother-in-law's side, and she felt that compared to the time when she went to Ying family, these people were all high and mighty deities, and brother-in-law was able to suppress the arrogance of these people just by casually bringing 3 dragons over. However, the purpose of summoning 3 giant dragons was just to build a high platform. What a pretentious act. No wonder he was her brother-in-law who had the syndrome of acting cool after smoking. He was standing next to her. Her sister and Baiji were so stupid that they missed the scene twice in a row. If you are here, you can think whatever you want. With brother-in-law's temperament, he will still spoil you. You guys just have to go against brother-in-law. This baby is much smarter. I really love brother-in-law. While little sister-in-law will give you a spanking ing. I reckon that if Yi Hua were to ask Qin Yutong to come and serve him in his bed right now, Qin Yutong would probably get off in an instant. Using Qin Yutong's words, in this lifetime, it would be fine as long as you hug onto brother-in-law's thigh, and don't worry about anything else. And when Qin Yutong's system saw this scene, it was also intoxicated. He could brag about this for the rest of his life in the system world. 7 deadly sins were already used to it, but I feel that it is different from before. His honor's way of handling things is more detailed. Tang Wei, Sun Fong and the 3 celebrities were also very shocked. However, they quickly controlled their emotions. After all, they had experienced the incident at Ying family. However, the Green and Red brothers were completely in a state of shock. This scene is too mystical to the point that they feel as if they are dreaming. It was normal for the two brothers to have this kind of thought. Some things need to be digested slowly. Facing such a big scene, the Green and Red brothers were still a bit unable to control themselves. This time, Yi Hua had also planned to let these newcomers experience the world. It would be beneficial for them in the future. Zhou Xian, who was in the group, seemed to be calm, but in her heart she was very excited. The people below her were all members of the royal family, and in front of them, I am completely unable to raise my head. Furthermore, I was even forcefully brought into the harem by Zhou Xian. To a woman who had no one to rely on, this was the most sorrowful thing. Provoking the royal family was equivalent to committing suicide. However, even the royal family that was high and mighty in the past was currently looking at her while trembling with fear. This kind of feeling is incomparable. Zhou Xian secretly took a peek at his honor, who was sitting on the wooden chair. All of this is bestowed upon me by this man. In Zhou Xian's heart, his honor is a complicated person. Sometimes, it seems like he cares about others, but the way he cares about others is indeed very strange. Take me and Yihong for example, after all kinds of deaths, after all kinds of touching, and finally together with me. Thinking back to the beginning, it seems like his honor had already planned everything from the very beginning. Those restrictions of distance, restrictions of time, and me and Yihong were firmly controlled by him. His honor is truly a man who is neither good nor evil. It is fortunate that I did not get fancied by him. Being together with this kind of man is very stressful. I truly admire those two madams. In the end, Yihong is still the best. Although she is a bit foolish, she is sincere towards me and cares for me in every possible way. This point alone is enough. Yi Hua suddenly thought of something and slapped onto the armrest of the chair. This caused the heart of Yi Hua's subordinate to sink. It can't be that Yi Hua is unsatisfied with something, right? Yi Hua immediately bowed down to express his apology. This action of Yi Hua's caused the people below to be dumbfounded. What is going on? Lord Father, look, all of their faces are filled with fear. Hong Xing laughed in a low voice. This scene caused everyone to laugh. Hong Yi laughed. They are definitely frightened by Lord Father. Hong Tai remained silent. The man who was sitting down just now seemed to have said something, and then the people around him became terrified. This meant one thing. These subordinates of his are either extremely fearful of him or extremely respectful of him. In actuality, it is both. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. I forgot to bring Ali over. This is a rare opportunity. I wanted to temper my subordinates, but I forgot to temper my child. Ali is almost 3 years old. It is about time for her to experience such a scene. Your Honor, subordinate can go and bring little Honor over. Wei Chang said respectfully. The people at the side let out a sigh of relief. I thought that His Honor was going to flip out, but it turns out that it was because of little Honor. Yi Hua wrinkled his brows, seemingly considering whether or not it would work. Zhu Tian said respectfully, Your Honor, for you to go and fetch little Honor, this is out of a father's longing for his child, and it does not mean that Your Honor has admitted defeat. What Zhu Tian said is right. It is perfectly normal for Your Honor to want to see his child. Furthermore, it has been half a month since Your Honor last saw little Honor. I reckon that little Honor misses Your Honor a lot. Wei Chang persuaded lightly. When a husband and wife quarrel, the child is the most pitiful. Yi Hua missed Ali a lot too. It has been more than a month since he last saw Ali, and wasn't it all because of those two foolish women? Wei Chang, go and fetch the child over. Tell him that I miss my child and that I will bring the child over to stay with me for a week. After that, I will send the child back. For the sake of teaching his daughter such a lesson, Yi Hua took the initiative to go and fetch the child. Chapter 4:16. Speak properly. Yi Hua instructed. Everyone smiled in their hearts. His Honor truly has a sharp mouth but a sponge's heart. In actuality, even though His Honor wanted to die, he just couldn't let go of his face. Wei Chang's disappearance made the people on the deity's side very puzzled. Why did one of the deities suddenly leave? What is he doing? He couldn't have scared one away, right? Hong Yi sneered. I haven't even started fighting and one of the deities was already scared away. Hong Xing laughed. He only scared one away? I thought that he would scare everyone away. Alright, the two of you speak less and observe the situation more. Hong Tai reprimanded gravely. These two children have been spoiled by their mother. They don't even have the slightest bit of eyesight. Are the deities planning to leave? It is evident that they are preparing for something. Seeing that their father suddenly got angry, Hong Yi and Hong Xing didn't dare to speak anymore. Emperor, let your army retreat first. Even if they were to go up there, it would be a waste of time. Hong Tai said faintly. When one's strength has reached this level, the army would no longer be of any use. Zhu Xian thought so too, just that without Ji's order he didn't dare to retreat the army, if not, the deities would misunderstand. Yi Hua didn't say anything as he watched the deities' army retreat. After all, I have to get rid of the deities' main force first. There is still a Ji who participated in the encirclement and annihilation operation back then. Some enmity, I still have to take revenge. My luck sure is not bad. Within Voidless Realm, the Empress moved. Wang Feng was burned down by her daughter, causing Donghuang Baiji to feel both angry and helpless. Yi Hua could only choose another mountain to be the king's palace. The reconstruction work was still in progress. Within these 2 months, 2 vicious incidents had happened, causing Donghuang Baiji to feel very depressed. Thinking about it, Voidless Realm was peaceful in the past, but ever since I met Yi Hua again, bad things happen one after another. I am truly an unlucky fellow. Within the courtyard, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji sat in a pavilion and rested. These few days they have been very busy and now they can finally rest. Meanwhile, Donghuang Li was hiding not far away and was secretly observing her mother's expression. Knowing that she had done something bad, Donghuang Li was scared to death, scared that her mother would smack her butt. Xianxia sipped the tea and said, Baiji, Ali is still young, don't blame her. She is already almost 3 years old, she is still young. Don't bother about her, let her know her mistake and in the future she won't act recklessly. Donghuang Baiji said petulantly. Ever since her daughter started following Yi Hua, her daughter's personality had somewhat changed. He used to be such a well-behaved child. Look at him now, he even knows how to fight. What would happen when he grew up? Wouldn't he take off? Xianxia laughed involuntarily. If you want to blame someone, blame Yi Hua for indiscriminately teaching a child. I also want to blame him, but he didn't come. Donghuang Baiji pouted her mouth. You can go back and admit your mistake. Then let's go together. Xianxia rolled her eyes at Donghuang Baiji, then flicked her hair. I'm not going back to apologize. I won't go back either. After hearing what Xianxia said, Xianxia smiled helplessly. Rubbing onto her bulging tummy, I feel that this is not bad. Although Yi Hua isn't by my side, at least my son is by my side. With a Baiyu sound, Wei Chang's figure appeared. Oh, Lady Boss. Wei Chang bowed slightly and said respectfully. Seeing that Wei Chang suddenly appeared to be honest, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji felt delighted in their hearts. Yi Hua definitely wants face, so he didn't come and asked his subordinate to come down and fetch him. Should I agree to it or not? Hey, he doesn't have any sincerity at all. Donghuang Li, who was hiding at the side, also felt delighted in her heart. I feel that Uncle Wei didn't come to fetch her mom, but rather he came to fetch me. Hurry up and fetch Ali, if not, Ali is going to be frozen to death by her mom. Wei Chang, what's the matter? Xianxia put on a straight face and asked while putting on an act. Right now, Xianxia was thinking if she should give Yi Hua a way out of this embarrassing situation. Wei Chang said with a slight smile, Lady Boss, the boss misses you too a lot. Wei Chang, I want to kill you. When did I ever say such a thing? In actuality, Wei Chang was just following his honor's instructions. Sure enough, upon hearing their husband's inner thoughts, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji's beautiful faces gradually loosened up, and a trace of redness could even be seen on their faces. To actually let his subordinate pass on such a message, Yi Hua, you are too shameless. Looking at the expressions of the two madams, Wei Chang felt that he had more or less paved the way. However, his honor misses the child even more. Xianxia, Donghuang Baiji, Wei Chang was clearly here to bring the child back, not to bring them back. The favorable impression that just sprouted within Donghuang Baiji and Donghuang Baiji immediately disappeared. Uncle Wei, Ali misses daddy too. Donghuang Li immediately knew that her daddy was thinking of her. Donghuang Li immediately ran out and jumped onto Wei Chang's body. Donghuang Li refused to let go of Wei Chang's body and even said in a low voice, Uncle Wei, quickly bring Ali away, mommy's temper has been very bad recently. Looking at her daughter's reaction, Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but sigh. The child that I raised painstakingly is now even more clingy to daddy. Lady Boss, the boss said that he will bring Ollie back to play for a week and after that he will send her back. Wei Chong explained. He discovered that your wife who had a rosy complexion just a moment ago suddenly became ice cold. This change in personality is too fast. Did I say something wrong just now? Qingye did not say anything. After all, Ollie was Dong Huang Baiji's child. Although Yi Hua was angry, it had been a long time since he took care of his child. Recently Voidless Realm was very busy and I can't take care of my child. All right then. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. Wei Chong said with a smile, Lady Boss, you can be at ease. With the boss taking care of your child, nothing will happen. Dong Huang Li nodded her head vigorously. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head helplessly. Lady Boss, do you have any message that you want me to pass on? Wei Chong asked. He felt that there was a need to pass on his wife's longing back. Qingye said faintly, no. Dong Huang Baiji said the same as well, no. All right, subordinate will return first then. After finished speaking, Wei Chong disappeared along with Dong Huang Li. The two women sighed at the same time, feeling deeply helpless. When Wei Chong returned, only a few minutes had passed. Dong Huang Li didn't pay much attention to Yi Hua. Her eyes were completely filled with her father. Dong Huang Li pounced onto Yi Hua and shouted out sweetly, Daddy. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Li even kissed onto her father's cheek, expressing how much she missed her father. While hugging onto his daughter, Yi Hua discovered that his daughter had grown a bit taller and a bit heavier. However, her daughter was still so adorable. A fatherly smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. Ollie, during this period of time, have you been listening to your mother? Ollie has been very obedient during this period of time, and she didn't give mommy any trouble. Dong Huang Li added in her mind. Yi Hua pinched onto the honest little fellow, then said, Today, Daddy is going to teach Ollie a lesson. Chapter 417. Just as Ollie was in a daze, Yi Hua asked faintly, What is their attitude? Wei Chong paused for a moment, then said in a low voice, Your madams miss his honor very much and they wanted me to pass their message to his honor. If Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji were to hear this, they would definitely go berserk. When did this madam say such words? Wei Chong, you better explain yourself clearly. After Yi Hua heard what Yi Hua said, he felt great in his heart. At least you all know how to talk. If you all obediently come back and admit your mistake, I will let bygones be bygones. Dong Huang Li came back to her senses and thought to herself, Uncle Wei is so smart. Yeah, Mama misses Papa so much. Even in my dreams I call Papa's name. Dong Huang Li wasn't lying, she had indeed called out to Yi Hua. However, she wasn't calling out to Yi Hua intimately. Instead she was calling out to Yi Hua. Yi Hua, you bastard. Ha ha ha. Yi Hua suddenly let out a loud laughter of joy. This caused the deities below to be puzzled. Why is he so happy? Could it be that he has gone mad? Actually, the gods down below were quite confused about this situation. That person had suddenly disappeared, and in less than the time it took to brew a cup of tea, he had returned with a child in his arms. The moment the child appeared, the man was overjoyed. It seemed that the child was very important to him. Father, this child should be his weakness. Hong Xing said. If we capture this child, they won't dare to do anything, Hong Yi said. Actually, both of them were expressing their own views and ideas, thinking that this would make their father feel gratified. However, Hong Tai did not praise him at all. Papa, who are they? Dong Huang Li jumped down from her father's embrace and stood at the edge of the platform that was built at the dragon's tail. Looking down, her legs felt numb. Yi Hua stood up slowly and said faintly, They are the people who bullied Ali's mama. Is it those people from a few days ago? Dong Huang Li asked curiously. Yi Hua nodded his head. Dong Huang Li's cheeks puffed up as she said angrily, Daddy, they are all bad people and they wanted to beat mommy up. It is fortunate that Ali chased them away. So Papa came here today to avenge Ollie and Mama. Yes, Ollie also wants to vent for Mama. Yi Hua was very happy with his daughter's attitude. Fortunately, I didn't follow their temperament. Yi Hua raised his hand, indicating to Wei Chong that he could start. Wei Chong coldly stared at the gods in front of him and shouted, Which one of you can be in charge? All the gods sucked in a breath of cold air. It was finally here. Zhou Xian glanced at the supreme being beside him. The latter said lightly, Speak. I'm the Emperor of Heaven's Sanctum. Who are you? Zhou Xian shouted. Wei Chong shouted out. His honor is here to settle the score. Call your crown prince out. Sure enough, it was because of the crown prince. Zhou Xian said in a low voice. Supreme Being, it's possible that this Supreme Being is also interested in the bloodline of Donghuang and Yuhua, and wants to kill my son to vent his anger. Don't worry, I'm here. They wouldn't dare to do anything to you. Hong Tai said indifferently. Even if I were to die, Yihua wouldn't do anything to me. Zhou Xian called out. What crime did he commit, please tell me? Yihua indicated to Wei Chong to back down, then said in a low voice. What's the matter? He even dares to take liberties with this sovereign's woman. You guys are so daring. Didn't you still kill hundreds of my sons? Zhou Xian can't accept this. Just because I took liberties with your woman, you want to kill my sons. Yihua sneered. What does it have to do with you that I killed your sons? Everyone present went into an uproar. I've seen unreasonable people before, but I've never seen someone this unreasonable. You killed someone else's son, and you still say that it has nothing to do with you? What does it have to do with me? Meanwhile, Zhou Xian was quite angered by Yihua's words. Killing my sons and you still say that it has nothing to do with me? This is too arrogant. Your honor, you have to uphold justice for me. Zhou Xian could only seek help from the Supreme Being beside him. This person is too arrogant and I don't have any way to deal with him. Hong Tai nodded his head, then slowly rose into the sky and stood at the same height as Yihua. Which Supreme Being are you? Hong Tai asked gravely. You want to interfere with my matters? Yihua asked faintly. Hong Tai didn't expect the other party to not give him any face. In that case, he didn't need to give him any face either. Since I am protecting them, I naturally have to interfere with their matters. That crown prince took liberties with Supreme Being's woman. He is indeed in the wrong, but Supreme Being, you have also killed the Emperor's 100 sons, so we should be even, right? Hong Tai still wanted to retreat without a fight. After all, these 3 Inferno Abyssal Dragons were no joke. Yihua wished that he could kill this Supreme Being right now. However, if he were to kill this Supreme Being right now, they would no longer have any hope. I might as well let them fantasize for a while longer. That was merely a warning notice. To think that you lowly deities would dare to provoke my woman, you must be thinking that your lives are too smooth, right? What do you want then? Hong Tai said coldly. Yihua said faintly, kill. Daddy, you can do it, the little fellow cheered for her father. Those who are standing in front of her father are all bad people. Hong Tai took a look at Dong Huangli and began thinking about how to avoid a fight. How about this, we will send out our subordinates to fight one-on-one, the best of 3. If we win, you all will retreat. If you all win, I will retreat. Towards Hong Tai's suggestion, Yihua felt that it was feasible. Although the situation is one-sided, I still have to give them a chance of survival. Sure. Hong Tai nodded his head, then landed on the ground and began discussing with the emperor about who to send out to fight. Meanwhile, Yihua looked at his subordinates and asked faintly, which one of you wants to go and have a try? Daddy, Ali wants to go. Dong Huangli was very proactive, but Yihua didn't plan to let his daughter go. Today his daughter will just watch, there is no need for her to care about anything else. Seeing that her daddy wasn't paying attention to her, Dong Huangli pouted her mouth. Your honor, subordinate is willing to fight for your honor. Tang Wei slowly walked out and said while bowing. With just a bow, Wei Chang's breasts were all white. This is a strapless gown, Wei Chang sure is lucky. Alright, don't disappoint me. Yihua said faintly. Yes. After finished speaking, Tang Wei jumped down from the cliff. She looked just like a superwoman. Of course, when Tang Wei landed on the ground. With a boom, the ground beneath her feet instantly cracked open and a shockwave spread out. This way of entering the stage is very cool. Yihua couldn't help but nod his head, then said to Wei Chong, you taught me well. Thank you, your honor, for your praise. Wei Chong felt that he had gained a lot of face. Lai Gu secretly negotiated with his 3 wives. Later on, I have to seize the opportunity to properly perform in front of his honor. With that, I will be able to receive his honor's praise as well. Look at that smug look on Wei Chang's face. Due to the millions of soldiers retreating, a very large empty space was left behind. The appearance of Tang Wei made the gods feel disdain. Chapter 4:18. The Hong brothers who were on top of the city wall had deep contempt on their faces. Does the other party not have anyone else, or did they send a woman out to die? What a pity for such a beautiful woman, her clothes are truly very alluring when she wears them, so big, so deep. Emperor, who do you want to send out? Hong Tai asked. This was the best way to avoid a battle. After all, these 3 inferno abyssal dragons were not to be trifled with. Father, why don't you let your son go out to fight? Hong Yi, who was at the side, asked. If I don't show my face in such a situation, it doesn't seem right. I can also let others see my strength. Hong Tai still didn't know what his son wanted to do, he just wanted to be in the limelight. Father, your son is also willing to go out to fight. Hong Xing cupped his hands and said. As the child of an overlord, he enjoyed different treatment from the moment he was born. Right now he could be said to be half a step into the ranks of overlords. If he is fast, in less than 10,000 years there will be 2 overlords. This is simply rushing to die. Tang Wei is just a girl, she is easy to bully. If Wei Chong didn't have any confidence, would he let Tang Wei go out to fight? To put it bluntly, even if Tang Wei fought against an overlord, she would still have some chance of winning. Therefore, to say that Tang Wei went out to fight was obviously bullying. The reason why Hong Tai couldn't see through the strength of Yi Hua and the others was because everyone was stronger than him. This was something that he didn't expect. Although the 7 sins all addressed Yi Hua as a supreme overlord, Yi Hua wasn't very clear about his own strength. If one were to insist on an explanation, the current 7 sins were all supreme overlords and I am already above them. Because I don't have any other titles, I can only call them supreme overlord. Back then, the 7 sins were able to team up against all the overlords, which meant that they already had the strength of an overlord. Needless to say, their strength had already reached an abnormal level. However, Wei Chong was able to easily create a supreme overlord team. Just like the Green and Red brothers, they instantly leveled up from 0 to 100. Therefore, you don't even know what kind of team you are facing, this is a team that is using a cheating device. If you don't give face, Tang Wei alone is enough. The current Tang Wei was no longer that immature university student. Facing such a scene, she was completely able to stay calm. Yi Hua also saw this, he hoped that everyone in the team would be able to take charge, that way he would be able to relax a bit. He was suspected of slacking off. At this moment, Zhu Xian was hesitating about who to send out. Although Zhizun's son had requested to fight, Zhizun did not respond. It seemed like she wanted to see how strong the other party was. Tang Wei stood on the vast plain. Although her delicate body seemed petite, she gave off an extraordinary feeling. For a woman to be able to have such an attitude in such an occasion, the other party was impressed, but also felt that it was a pity. Who dares to fight with me? Tang Wei shouted coldly. This is my first time performing in front of his honor. I definitely cannot make any mistakes. Losing face for myself is a small matter, but losing face for his honor is a big matter. Therefore, not only did they have to win, they had to win cleanly. Everyone heard this shout clearly and the deities' faces darkened. They were actually being looked down upon by a woman. Your Majesty, allow me. A handsome man walked out from the sex group. He wore a simple white robe and didn't wear any decorations. He seemed fresh and refined, as if he didn't belong to the secular world. Zhu Qingshuan's lips curled into a smile. Then I'll have to trouble Sect Master. Your Majesty is too polite. It is the duty of us cultivators to eradicate evil. Wen Lu seemed to be extremely respectful, but don't be fooled by this kind of facade. Although he seemed to be respectful to the emperor, it was obvious that he wanted to show off in front of Zhizun and obtain a good impression of him. Zhu Qingshan was overjoyed. Good. This emperor will wait here for Sect Master Wen's triumphant return. Wen Lu will definitely do his best. After he finished speaking, he leaped and flew towards Tang Wei. The Hong brothers pouted their mouths. He really knows how to flatter. Lightly landing on the ground, Wen Lu carefully sized up the woman in front of him. In terms of appearance, this woman was a rare beauty, but from her clothes she didn't seem to be very powerful, just like those women in the brothels. But from her aura she could be considered a heroine among women. Wen Lu, Mountain Sea Sect Master. Tang Wei paused for a moment. I have to say this in a fight. However, I do have to announce my name on TV. Tang Wei, Long and University's 4th-year student. Tang Wei could only say this. His honor didn't establish any sect and he doesn't have a position either. Uncle Wei has a position, one of the 7 sins. Wen Lu was a bit surprised. This girl is actually just a student and I am the sect master. Even if I win, my face won't be glorious. Ah, this woman is still a student. Seems like the other party doesn't have many people. Hong Yi continued to mock the other party. The surrounding royal family members were speechless. This person is relying on the fact that his father is Zhizun. He is insufferably arrogant and has never suffered a loss before. Only after suffering a loss will you know that the cruelty of the world is not something that you can understand. Yi Hua carried his daughter and sat back onto the wooden chair, then asked, "How many moves do you think Tang Wei will need to win?" "This is hard to say." "Little Green, tell me." Yi Hua asked. Big Brother Green was terrified. "How would I know?" "I can only guess. Replying to your honor, 3 moves should be enough." "Lai Gu, tell me." Yi Hua continued to ask. Lai Gu rubbed onto his chin and said lightly, "Your honor, 2 moves. And Tang, 1 move should be enough." Dong Huangli, who was in Yi Hua's embrace, suddenly said. Dong Huangli seemed to be very confident in Tang Wei. Yi Hua rubbed onto his daughter's head. "Wei Chong, what do you think?" "What your honor said is very true, 1 move should be enough." Ali said that Aunt Tang is very formidable. Dong Huangli said happily. "Daddy, hurry up and praise Ali. Ali is already prepared." Yi Hua said indifferently, "That's good. If you still want to use 2 moves, I will have to criticize you." Wei Chong bowed slightly, indicating that your honor is worrying too much. If those deities were to hear the conversation between Yi Hua and Yi Hua, they would definitely say that Yi Hua was boasting shamelessly. That is the famous sect master when his strength is incomparably formidable, and if he were to cultivate for another 10,000 years, he would definitely become another powerful Zhizun. You actually said 3 moves, 2 moves. Even 1 move. Where did your confidence come from? Sect Master Wen should be able to deal with Tang Wei in 1 move. On the stage, Wen Lu took out his weapon. Wen Lu's weapon was a very thin long sword that looked like an embroidery needle. However, the moment this weapon appeared, a powerful fluctuation immediately gushed out from it, causing the sky to change color and the clouds to surge. This is Pear Blossom, an ancient godly artifact. Bring out your weapon. After finished speaking, the aura coming out from Wen Lu's body completely exploded out, and his eyes became as deep as the stars. It was as if he was the supreme being under the common people and everyone else was just an ant. Chapter 419. The other sect masters were all astonished. This Wen Lu actually has such a cultivation. No wonder he dared to volunteer. Hong Tai also revealed a trace of astonishment. This person has already touched the doorstep of the Overlord realm. In time to come, he will be able to take half a step into the ranks of the Overlords. In the near future, he will also become an Overlord. As for how long this near future would take, it might be tens of thousands of years. After all, it is not so easy to become an Overlord. The various deities felt Wen Lu's aura and revealed a look of joy. There is hope. Sect Master Wen will definitely be able to win. Is there even a need to say that? This is simply using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Even I would be able to do it. Using a sledgehammer to crack a chicken, what a waste. Wen Lu's aura ignited the fire of hope in the originally depressed deities. Before the battle even started, there were already people who were celebrating their first victory. Yi Hua looked at these salted fishes and laughed lightly. Laugh, laugh, you all don't have much time left to laugh. Enjoy the joy brought by the rest of your lives. Despair has only just begun. On the battlefield, Wen Lu's aura had already risen to the peak, to the point where he felt that he would be able to break that pure white jade neck of the other party with a single hand. Take out your weapon. Wen Lu shouted out. Facing such an aura, the other party actually remained indifferent. Either the other party came prepared or the other party was scared silly. It should be the latter. Furthermore, the other party did not even take out her weapon. It would give off a feeling that the victory was unfair. What was there to show off about winning against a woman, let alone a woman who did not have a weapon? Tang Wei's expression did not change at all. The biting cold aura blew onto her body, causing her beautiful hair to flutter, and the dress that she wore on her body to flutter. My hands are the best weapons. Tang Wei clenched her fist and slowly spat it out. Hands. The various deities all went into a daze for a moment, then burst out laughing. This woman is crazy. Boasting shamelessly. To actually use her hands to fight against a sect master who possesses an ancient godly weapon. This is undoubtedly courting death. This is truly a woman who uses her hands to achieve her dreams. Wen Lu's expression slightly changed. This woman is truly too arrogant to actually say such arrogant words. She is simply not putting me in her eyes at all. Fine. Today I shall let you experience what true strength is. The moment he finished speaking, Wen Lu's aura increased explosively, and the pear flower in his hand emitted a dazzling white light. Heart-destroying sword. The surrounding temperature instantly rose as if all the water molecules had been sucked dry. It was as if he was in a desert. A beam of sword light swept over, bringing with it a momentum that could overturn the world, as if it wanted to crush everything in the world. This sword had reached the state of being one with the sword. To Wenlu, displaying such a sword art was a kind of enjoyment. It was a beautiful melody, and it was also the best moment to comprehend sword arts. At this moment time seemed to stop, and only the sword was in his eyes. The gods all held their breaths when they saw the heart-destroyer sword technique being used right at the start of the battle. This was the power of a sect leader. The mountain and sea sect's reputation was indeed well-deserved. With just this battle, the mountain and sea sect's reputation would definitely sweep through the entire heavenly palace, suppressing all the heroes. At this moment the Grand Masters were feeling a little regretful. This was a free-point question. They had hesitated earlier on. If they had been more decisive and won this battle, their sects would have welcomed a new spring. At this moment no one would care about what Tang Wei was thinking. Under such a powerful move she would definitely turn into dust. It would not be difficult for Wenlu to win. Tang Wei's beautiful eyes stared at the menacing sword aura as she pushed her right leg backwards. Bang! The ground was immediately split apart by the high heels under Tang Wei's feet, and her right fist slowly tightened as she placed it on her waist. A black aura slowly emitted out and condensed on Tang Wei's fist. At this moment Tang Wei's eyes were pitch black without any emotion. As Tang Wei condensed her power, the ground beneath her feet gradually collapsed, and the black light on her body became more and more intense, like a black flame. It was unimaginable. Tang Wei's actions caused the smiles of the gods to freeze on their faces. What was going on? In that instant, Tang Wei's right foot stomped down once again. Boom, boom. The area within a circumference of 100 miles seemed as if there was a magnitude 9 earthquake, and the ground shook intensely. The ground seemed as if it was split open by the hands of a giant, and cracks appeared on the ground. And from Yi Hua's perspective, those cracks extended all the way to the horizon. The imperial city immediately activated its defensive state. Otherwise, it would be destroyed by this kick. This was Tang Wei's true strength. It could be said, this was the first time in history that she had gone all out to fight. After all, Earth was their home. Even if they were to fight, they would try their best to suppress their strength. Not only Tang Wei, everyone was the same. But it was different here. They could fight with all their might. All the gods were dumbfounded. A single stomp could actually produce such a powerful destructive force. Was this still a woman? This was simply a humanoid monster, the king of destruction. Compared to Wenlu's heart-destroying sword, Tang Wei's kick was even more shocking. As a Zhizun, even Hong Tai was shocked. This woman actually possessed such a powerful strength, and he actually couldn't tell. This was clearly half a step into the realm of Zhizun. Hong Tai raised his head and looked at the dozen or so people on top of the Inferno Abyssal Dragon. Emperor Zhu Qingshuan's mind went blank. He originally thought that a woman was nothing much. Wenlu was the sect master of the mountain and sea sect. With him here, it would definitely be foolproof. But, however, Tang Wei's kick had completely destroyed the confidence of the gods. Yi Hua was very satisfied with Tang Wei's actions. This kick was good. Not only was it shocking, it was also stepping on the faces of these gods, letting them know that you, Tang Wei, are not to be trifled with. Wei Chong looked at his woman with admiration in his eyes. As expected of the woman that he had taken a fancy to, this aura was similar to his demeanor back then. However, when Tang Wei stepped on it, the high heels under her feet did not break in the slightest. It was truly miraculous. Following Tang Wei's stomp, her right fist suddenly struck out. Primordious collapse. It could be said that the kick just now was to pave the way for this punch, the so-called borrowing force, to unleash an even more powerful force. When this punch was thrown out, it created a huge sonic boom. A black evil aura coiled around Tang Wei's fist like a black sun. The boundless spiritual energy swept out like a storm. The originally crimson-red sky instantly darkened. The astral wind whistled, causing pain to his face. Boom. The two forces immediately collided, and a loud sound resounded through the clouds like a furious roar. Mountains collapsed one after another, and a resplendent light shot up into the sky, scattering the black clouds. A ferocious shockwave spread out in all directions. When it touched the barrier of the imperial city, The entire barrier trembled as if it was about to collapse. Chapter 420. All of the deities maintained a dumbfounded look on their faces. Some of their mouths were slightly opened and some of their mouths could even be stuffed with a ham sausage. This kind of reaction was just like discovering that the other party was a man after an orgasm. Unbelievable. This woman is so terrifying, she actually survived under sect leader Wen's attack. This is simply a miracle. However, many people noticed that something was amiss. Sect leader Wen's ancient godly equipment disappeared. On the field, Wen Lu's expression was very unusual, and Tang Wei was standing there gracefully as if she wasn't the one who attacked sect leader Wen. Impossible. This is impossible. Wen Lu murmured. The scene just now replayed in his mind. The other party's fist was directly coming towards him. No. Accurately speaking, it was coming towards the tip of his sword. At that time he was still overjoyed in his heart. The woman who overestimated herself actually used her fist to attack my ancient godly equipment. However, what happened next made him astonished. Before that little embroidered fist even touched his sword, his pear blossom sword started to tremble violently and started to dissipate from the tip of the sword. Then the entire sword turned into powder. An ancient godly equipment actually turned into powder under a fist unless it was an overlord. Otherwise, how could an overlord destroy an ancient godly equipment with just his physical body? Wen Lu slowly raised his head and asked in a low voice, "Just who are you? If I don't ask this question, I won't be able to die in peace." Tang Wei said faintly, "I am just an ordinary university student. Of course I am still His Honor's subordinate. Oh no, subordinate's wife." Hearing this answer, Wen Lu opened his eyes wide and slowly raised his head to look at the man who was sitting on the chair. Subordinate already has this kind of strength. Then what kind of strength does this subordinate have? And what kind of strength does he himself have? This is a group of demons. Demons. Wen Lu suddenly laughed. The evils we bring upon ourselves are the hardest to bear. A light breeze blew past and Wen Lu dissipated along with his deep laughter, turning into dust. Not even his primordial spirit was left behind. It could be seen just how terrifying this punch was. This scene caused the deities to be unable to believe it, and they didn't dare to believe it. This is the Mountain Sea sect leader, one of the top 10 experts of Heaven's Mansion, and he actually couldn't even take a single punch from the other party. This is definitely impossible. The word impossible reverberated in everyone's hearts. Just a moment ago they had been preparing to celebrate, but now they were dumbstruck, their hearts filled with fear. It was like a child fighting an adult. Everyone thought that the adult would win, but they didn't expect the child to knock down the adult. Moreover, it was a knockdown without any strength. Tang Wei, who had completed her mission, returned to the dragon's tail, then bowed slightly and said respectfully, "Your Honor." Yi Hua nodded his head and said faintly, "Not bad. It's my duty." Tang Wei appeared to be very modest. However, such modesty gave off a different feeling in the eyes of these gods. Such a powerful woman was actually so respectful to that man. It was surprising and frightening. Yi Hua waved his hand, signaling Tang Wei to return to the team. Meanwhile, Tang Wei bowed her body and retreated to the back of the team. At that moment, all the gods realized that the woman seemed to be standing at the back of the group. Then what the hell was that standing in front of him? Those sect leaders immediately changed their minds. This wasn't a freebie question, it was a freebie question. It is fortunate that I didn't go to the battle just now, if not, the one who died would be me. Your Honor, what should we do now? Zhou Xian asked gravely. Even the sect leader couldn't win against this woman. Hong Tai's expression sunk. I have underestimated their strength. Just where did these people come from? Hong Yi and Hong Xing, who were behind Yi Hua, didn't dare to speak anymore and instantly became obedient. Tang Wei's move just now had scared the two of them silly. As the sons of Supreme Being, their cultivation speed was indeed very fast. What other people could reach in 10,000 years they could reach in 1,000 years. Furthermore, their strength was not much different from Yi Hua's. Thinking about how they went to request for battle just now, if Father had allowed it, the one who would have disappeared would be me. Father is still the one who is the most considerate. Hong Tai let out a sigh of relief. Right now, in this situation, anyone who goes up to fight would only be sending themselves to death. Emperor, you can be at ease. Since I said that I will protect you, I will naturally protect you. After finished speaking, Hong Tai flew out of the barrier. To him, a barrier like this was nothing. Looking at the appearance of this supreme being, Yi Hua sneered in his heart. He couldn't sit still anymore. Supreme being, how about we spar for a bit? Standing in the sky, Hong Tai asked. Ever since I became an supreme being, this was the second time I felt so useless. The first time was 5 years ago when I was fighting against those beasts. Without waiting for Yi Hua to say anything, Dong Huangli made a face at Hong Tai. You are so weak, my daddy won't spar with you. A dignified supreme being was actually called a weak chicken by a child. However, looking at the 3 inferno abyssal dragons that were hugging each other, Hong Tai held back his anger. Until now, the one that Hong Tai was afraid of was the 3 inferno abyssal dragons and not the 10+ people. What an idiot. Yi Hua looked at the familiar face and said, children usually speak the truth. If you want to spar with me, you are indeed not strong enough. Although what Yi Hua said was very light, everyone heard it. Yi Hua said it intentionally for everyone to hear. The other party's supreme being was actually disdainful, and his tone even carried a deep sense of ridicule. Everyone's heart fell into the air. Just what exactly is going to happen next? You don't think that just because you have the supreme treaty, I won't dare to do anything to you. Evidently, Hong Tai was quite angered by Yi Hua. So Hong Tai wanted to use this treaty to protect himself, and now he is saying that Yi Hua is relying on the treaty. He is truly shameless. Yi Hua laughed lightly, then slowly stood up. Supreme treaty? Even I don't remember how many supreme beings I have killed. You have killed a lot of supreme beings? Hong Tai's expression suddenly changed as he questioned coldly. Yi Hua felt that this show was about to end and he wasn't interested in watching anymore. Right now, I should give them their final despair, and this supreme being will also know who I am. That's right, a lot. Yi Hua took out a cigarette and lit it up, then looked at Hong Tai with narrowed eyes. I really like this expression of Hong Tai's. Hong Tai suddenly laughed out. Do you think that you can scare me? Do you really think that supreme beings can be scared? As Hong Tai spoke, the supreme being's might that was being emitted out from Hong Tai's body. In a battle between experts, aura was very important, especially for supreme beings. The one with the strongest aura would definitely win. Meanwhile, the deities below only saw the conversation between the two, and didn't hear the content of the conversation. Chapter 421. However, this action once again gave the deities hope. When an overlord makes his move, it is no joke, he will be able to kill all of you in an instant. A few minutes ago they thought so too, and right now they started to fantasize about winning. However, if they lose, they would not even have the strength to resist. Yi Hua said indifferently, do you really not recognize us anymore? Hong Tai's gaze became serious as he sized up everyone. Other than that little lowly with a ponytail, he really did not have any impression of the others. Of course, Hong Tai did not have any impression of them. In the past, Yi Zizi also looked like this, and the others all appeared with their original bodies. Just who are you all? Hong Tai asked gravely and put on a defensive posture. Yi Hua felt that he had to give some hints. If not, with the other party's intelligence, it would be very hard for him to guess. A ray of red light could be seen flashing past Yi Hua's eyes. Although it was just a flash, Hong Tai still saw it. I will never forget that pair of red light until now. Over 100 overlords gathered on that day. And it was all for the sake of encircling and annihilating 8 people. The situation on that day was incomparably tragic. Tens of overlords fell one after another. And only then did the overlords exterminate all of the overlords. And the boss of the overlords, that skeleton, that pair of empty eye sockets, was also shining with the same kind of red light. Hong Tai's lips began to tremble as he pointed at Yi Hua and said in panic, You didn't die. Do you think that I am so easy to kill? Yi Hua sneered. Upon thinking about the situation on that day, an overflowing anger emerged. The heavens seemed to have felt Yi Hua's anger, and immediately, a rumbling sound rang out and thunder sounded out from the clear sky. No wonder I felt a sense of familiarity when I looked at that little girl. So it was her. They actually dared to not die. After paying such a painful price, in the end, everything became bubbles. Hong Tai seemed to be about to collapse. And this time he felt that their strength had risen again. In the past they were able to fight against a group of outstanding heroes with the strength of 8 people, and right now they were only able to fight against a single person. Hong Tai no longer cared about his face. He turned around and shouted at his 2 sons, "Run!" However, there was no trace of his sons on the city wall. Father, Lai Gu and Wuxia could be seen grabbing onto one person each. Lai Gu had become smarter now. Knowing that, he knew that his honor would be able to praise him. Well done. Yi Hua said faintly, then lightly stroked onto his daughter's head. Dong Huangli yawned and gradually fell asleep. Although Yi Hua wanted to educate his daughter, there were some things that she could not come into contact with yet. After all, his daughter was still young right now, and there were some dark things that she would have to experience by herself in the future. Yutong carry a Li, Yi Hua said faintly. Qin Yutong carried Dong Huangli into her embrace and felt that she was digging out her brother-in-law's secrets. The deities below were all dumbfounded. Just a moment ago, the Supreme Being was about to display his might. Why did the situation suddenly change? He became so panic-stricken to the extent where he couldn't help but scream out. How could a Supreme Being be in this state? Moreover, even the child of a supreme martial artist was captured. All the gods realized the fact that they had no hope at all. All that was left was deep despair. Release my son. Hong Tai had a panicked look on his face as he roared towards Yi Hua. The demeanor of an overlord was thrown to the back of his head. Yi Hua took a puff of the cigarette, then said faintly, "In order to save your two sons, what are you willing to pay?" "Anything is fine." Hong Tai hurriedly shouted. When Hong Yi and Hong Xing heard their father's reply, tears streamed down their cheeks. "Father will still save us. Let's use our lives to exchange for them then." Yi Hua said faintly. I wonder how an overlord views familial love. In Yi Hua's eyes, supreme beings were a group of sanctimonious people. For the sake of benefits, they were willing to give up everything. Their lives were eternal, and to them having a child was just a process of cultivation. However, among humans, Yi Hua had seen some news before. For the sake of their children, they were willing to give up everything. There was a mother who actually lifted a small car and rescued her child. This made Yi Hua very surprised. This is the power of a mother. Looking at their father's struggling expression, Hong Yi and Hong Xing's hearts sunk. Big Brother Green suddenly said in a low voice, "If it was me, I wouldn't save them. I would go back and hug my wife twice tonight, hug 2 children next year, and then have another 2 children 18 years later." That's right, that's right. If they die, their wife would become someone else's wife, and their child would recognize someone else as his father. That would be so miserable. Little Brother Red said in a low voice. This isn't a good deal, I hate being cuckolded the most. Big Brother Red sighed. It was evident that the two of them were performing a double act to disrupt Hong Tai's train of thought. Wrong. They are trying to make Hong Tai's train of thought flow smoothly. Your life is endless, if you die like this it wouldn't be worth it. Although Zishan knew that Yi Hong said that intentionally, Zishan still glared at the man. Why don't you give birth to a child with me? Feeling Zishan's gaze, Yi Hong immediately turned his face away and pretended that he didn't see anything. I really envy Big Brother, it is so good to be single. Hong Yi and Hong Xing inwardly scolded the two of them for being shameless. Father, don't listen to their nonsense. Save me. Hong Yi cried out loudly. As long as my father doesn't abandon me, I am willing to do anything. Hong Xing was choking with sobs. Father, your son will repay you properly in the future. Lai Gu pursed his lips. Who are you two going to repay? Stepfather? The two brothers were on the verge of collapse. Hong Tai was also thinking in his heart. That's right, if I die, who are you two going to repay? Looking at their father struggling more and more, the two brothers were about to go crazy. This bunch of shameless people. Yi Hua didn't stop them and looked at Hong Tai, who had a gloomy face. Then can I leave? After a long while, Hong Tai let out a breath and asked gravely. In actuality, what they said was right, my life is endless, at worst I can just give birth again in the future. If I were to die now, then I would really have nothing left. My wife slept with someone else, and my child recognized someone else as his father. I am unwilling to accept this. Hearing what their father said, Hong Yi and Hong Xing's faces turned pale. When their lives were in danger, their father still abandoned them. The two brothers had nothing left to love, and right now the person they missed the most was their mother. When Hong Tai's subordinates heard Hong Tai's reply, they all let out a deep sigh. However, Hong Tai's choice must be respected. In the eyes of an overlord, if one doesn't look out for oneself, the heavens will destroy them. Of course you won't be able to leave. Yi Hua immediately dispelled Hong Tai's thoughts of running away. If you were to run away and leak out the news, those overlords would have two choices. First, surround and annihilate them again just like back then. Second, hide them. Yi Hua felt that the possibility of the second choice was higher. If you are to hide, who am I going to take revenge on? As for the first choice, that would be too easy for you all to die. Furthermore, from now on, your lives are already starting to enter the countdown. Don't doubt my words, I never speak lies. Hong Tai took a look at his sons, then decided to run away without any hesitation. I must definitely inform everyone about this matter. Chapter 422. If I want to escape, you are powerless. Yi Hua sneered. There aren't many people who are able to escape from me, other than those two foolish women. He grabbed at the void and forcefully pulled Hong Tai out of the torn space. The gods below were all dumbfounded. Zhizun actually abandoned them and ran away. Wasn't heaven's sanctum under the protection of Zhizun? How could you run away just like that? What about us? As the emperor, Zhou Xian powerlessly supported himself on top of the city wall and muttered, "When the blood-red light appears, the country will face a calamity." The Daoist master heaved a deep sigh of relief and supported his majesty. "Your majesty, if you admit your mistake, you might still have a chance." "Heavenly master, if I had listened to you back then and paid attention to this problem, this wouldn't have happened." Zhou Xian felt regret and despair. If he had taken Ho Xuelin seriously on the night of his clan's annihilation, and then announced the ban, his son would not have gone down. Everything that happened next wouldn't have been his fault. "Your majesty, right now there is still a sliver of a chance to redeem the situation." Although Daoist sure felt that there was no hope, but at the very least if he were to beg for it, there might still be a chance to turn things around. But Zhou Xian was the emperor of heaven's sanctum. "Even if I have to die, I will die standing, not kneel to live." Zhou Xian suddenly stood up straight as if he had returned to his previous state. Although the celestial master felt sorry for the emperor's choice, he praised the emperor's attitude. The imperial family should have the dignity of the imperial family. Even if they were to be destroyed, they should not lower their heads. "You devil! Let me go." Hong Tai, who was firmly confined by Yi Hua, struggled madly. However, even if Hong Tai had the strength of an overlord in Yi Hua's hands, he was just like an ordinary person. Yi Hua said coldly, "Didn't anyone teach you before? If you do something wrong, you have to pay the price." Without waiting for Hong Tai to roar out, Yi Hua clenched his fist. As a supreme being, Hong Tai exploded into a bloody mist in midair, and even his primordial spirit exploded along with it. Everyone saw this scene. Even the supreme martial artist had fallen, so there was really no one who could stop them. All the gods knelt on the ground and prayed to the heavens for mercy, hoping for a miracle. However, just like what Yi Hua had said, a miracle was impossible. The appearance of Yi Hua's main body only represented despair. If he was weak, perhaps he would be the one kneeling, but that was absolutely impossible. Yi Hua coldly looked at the group of gods who were kneeling on the ground and shouted out gravely, "I will say it again. You can't afford to offend my woman even if you die." Upon thinking about the situation that happened that day, Yi Hua immediately became furious. If I was an ordinary person, Xianxia and Baiji would have been captured by them and would have been living a life worse than death. Fortunately, I am not an ordinary person. He did not let such a tragedy happen. Furthermore, Yi Hua wasn't like Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji. Yi Hua would never be soft-hearted. He slowly turned around and said to his subordinates, "Leave no one alive." "Yes." Everyone answered in unison. Yi Hua took over his daughter and carried her in his embrace, then left with his sister-in-law. After his honor left, everyone felt that their bodies had become relaxed. Yizizi was already a bit impatient and couldn't stop licking her lips. Wei Chong was also a bit greedy, while Lai Gu's hands were a bit itchy. Right now, Absolute Heaven was only interested in money, the more the better. "His honors plan requires a lot of money, you all know that." Absolute Heaven said faintly. Lai Gu said with a smile, "Who is snatching money from you? Just take however much you want." "That's right, I am only interested in people." Yizizi let out a "sew" sound. Wei Chong laughed lightly. "All right, for his honors plan, all of the money will be handed over to Absolute Heaven. We will do the dirty work." Yizizi let out a strange laugh. "I like dirty work." Wei Chong turned his head around and looked towards the huge imperial city, then said with an ice-cold gaze, "Let's start working." The 10+ people flew towards the imperial city, and the 3 inferno nether dragons separated from each other, and the scarlet-red dragon scales started burning with scarlet flames once again. Zhou Xian looked at the enemies that were far away, and there wasn't any unnecessary expression on his face as he stood straight. This was the final dignity of an emperor. Sky Teacher did not cower and continued to uphold his duty. Che Hongliang took a deep breath, then shouted out loudly, "Protect His Majesty. Protect the Imperial City. Protect Heaven's Mansion." The gaze of the millions of soldiers gradually became firm, and the army let out a long shout. Heaven's Mansion's soldiers can only die while standing. There is no need to kneel while living. After returning back to Leisure Bar, Yi Hua woke up his daughter. Dong Huangli was curious as to why she fell asleep, and she had an unhappy look on her face. "Yang, let's go out to eat spicy hot pot tonight." Yi Hua carried his daughter and looked at Conan. Qing Yutong could be seen wearing an apron and holding onto a rag, cleaning up the place. In order to continue living here, she didn't even mind becoming a servant. "I don't have money." Qing Yutong pouted her mouth. "Is there any brother-in-law like you? You are almost squeezing sister-in-law dry." Dong Huangli smiled happily. "Daddy, are we really going to eat spicy hot pot? Ali hasn't eaten spicy hot pot for a long time already." "Daddy, I will bring Ali to eat spicy hot pot tonight." Qing Yutong's eyes shone, then hurriedly ran over and massaged her brother-in-law's shoulders, then said sweetly, "Brother-in-law, bring me along. You glutton, you sure can eat a lot." Yi Hua said faintly. He admired his sister-in-law's appetite. "I am a glutton," Dong Huangli said with a childish voice. "Only those who look good are called gluttons, those who don't look good are called gluttons." "Are you saying that Aunt Qing looks ugly?" While speaking, Qing Yutong stretched out her hand and scratched an itch on Dong Huangli's face. Dong Huangli was about to die from laughing. Looking at the two of them arguing, the corner of Yi Hua's mouth arced up. How much longer are these two women going to argue for? Suddenly, a burst of noise rang out. Bang 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 bang. "Daddy, what's that sound?" Dong Huangli, who was paralyzed in Qing Yutong's embrace, asked curiously. "The storefront at the side is being renovated." Yi Hua felt annoyed when he heard that sound. "However, I am a citizen with quality. If not, I would have long started renovating the storefront." The storefront at the side of Leisure Bar had always been empty, but in the recent few days the storefront was actually rented out. During the day there would be a dong 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 sound, but fortunately there was no sound at night. "Daddy, do we have neighbors now?" Dong Huangli smiled and said. "I feel that having neighbors seems to be a very good thing." Yi Hua said faintly, "You can say so." "Daddy, let's go and greet them then." Yi Hua, "How can I, the Supreme Overlord, possibly go and greet others? I will definitely not go and greet them." 5 minutes later, Dong Huangli and Qin Yutong could be seen dragging Yi Hua, who had an unwilling look on his face, out of the door. The structure of this house was pretty much the same as Yi Hua's house. Both of them were 2 storefronts. However, Yi Hua's house had 3 storefronts. Qin Yutong held on to Dong Huangli's hand and walked at the front, while Yi Hua walked at the back with a cigarette in his mouth. "Beauty, this house is currently being renovated. It is best for you not to come in. Be careful not to get hurt." An uncle who was currently tearing down a signboard said with goodwill. Qin Yutong asked curiously, "Master, what are you two preparing to do?" "I heard from the boss that we are preparing to open a bar." Chapter 423. After hearing that, Yi Hua and Qin Yutong felt confused and shocked at the same time. Qin Yutong felt that her brother-in-law was already weird enough to open a bar in this kind of place. I wonder how he survived in the past. I didn't expect that there would be someone who would open a bar in this kind of place. Could it be because the rent here is cheap? That is indeed the case. However, this is clearly going against brother-in-law trying to steal business. It seems like I won't be able to steal any business. For a bar that doesn't have any customers, stealing business is impossible. Yi Hua felt that it was time to send his sister-in-law up. Yutong advertised the bar in a few days. Qin Yutong was about to kneel down to her brother-in-law. Not only does brother-in-law want to squeeze his sister-in-law dry, he also wants to squeeze her body dry. "Brother-in-law, I have already become like this. Who would still recognize me?" Qin Yutong pinched her own face and said. Because Yi Hua had been looking at her every day, he didn't feel that his sister-in-law had changed at all. Qin Yutong asked towards the renovation master, "Master, do you recognize me?" The master looked at Qin Yutong and his heart started beating a bit. "She is truly beautiful. Miss, I am a man with a family. Please do not harass me." Qin Yutong, Yihua actually laughed and Dong Huangli laughed until she cried. This sentence was too heart-wrenching, and Qin Yutong felt that it was already a miracle for this man to be able to find a wife. Dong Huangli held onto her brother-in-law's arm. I knew it, no one would recognize me now. Daddy, carry. Yihua carried his daughter into his embrace and said faintly, let's take a look first. The three walked towards the outside of the alley. Isn't it just a bar at the side? What's so great about it? I, the Supreme Overlord, accept your challenge. Yihua had once brought his wife here to eat Konjak's spicy pot, but unfortunately now, his wife was gone. Spicy pot was just a pot of random stew and it was mainly spicy. A lot of youngsters like to eat spicy pot, after all it was cheap and tasty. Daddy, Ollie wants to eat chicken wings, beef meatballs, crab chops, fish balls and… Brother-in-law, I want to eat beef, streaky pork, tiger skin, bacon, sausage, pork tenderloin, meat and bone. These two carnivores, Yihua said, also give me some potatoes, lettuce, cucumber, lettuce, cabbage, fried tofu, chives, cabbage. Hello, sir, that's 198 yuan. Yihua took out his phone and took a look at the change. Is there a discount? It's a small business, 188 RMB will do. The lady boss also saw that Yihua was handsome, if not she wouldn't pay a single cent less. The remaining 10 yuan were 10 yuan. After finding a table and sitting down, Qin Yutong took out her phone and played with it. Yihua held onto his daughter's hand and silently waited for the dishes to be served. Daddy, Ali is going to have her 3rd birthday soon. Dong Huangli suddenly said. Yihua paused for a moment. I have never celebrated my birthday before and I have forgotten that there is such a thing. Thinking about the time when I had sex with Dong Huang Baiji, and after that I was pregnant for 10 months. It should be around October, right? Yihua carried his daughter and said, whatever Ali wants, Daddy will satisfy you. Qin Yutong placed down her phone. This little brat is becoming more and more cunning. I want Daddy and Mommy to be together. Dong Huangli's tone contained traces of sadness and desolation. Dong Huangli played the role of an innocent child to the fullest. In the past, Yihua was also the best male lead and Dong Huangli was Yihua's daughter. Dong Huangli possessed a powerful genetic inheritance, and she was more than enough to be a small acting actress. Hearing his daughter's wish, Yihua felt very helpless. I am able to give Ali whatever she wants, but this is the only thing that I am unable to do. How can I, the Supreme Overlord, lower my head to those two foolish women? Daddy, Dong Huangli raised her head, her big eyes were watery and she looked extremely pitiful. After finished speaking, Dong Huangli intimately rubbed against her father's chin. Qin Yutong said from the side, brother-in-law, you weren't present for Ali's last 2 birthdays, you should at least satisfy Ali's wish this time, right? What this sister-in-law said makes sense. As a father, I have already missed my child's birthday twice, and this year can be counted as the first time. Can't you even satisfy a child's wish? However, I will not go and pick them up. Ali, I will leave this matter to you. However, Daddy will not go and pick up Mommy. Yihua said gravely. Hearing that, Dong Huangli pouted. However, I will first arrange for Daddy and Mommy to meet. Perhaps when they meet, their emotions will explode and they will be able to give birth to a younger brother. Thinking up to here, Dong Huangli happily agreed. At this time the dishes were served. Although the dishes were only medium spicy, Dong Huangli and Qin Yutong's faces still turned red from the spiciness. While eating, Wei Chong also sent a message over to Yihua. Wei Chong had already dealt with everything and not a single person was left alive. Meanwhile, all of the money and items were taken care of by Zhu Tian. Yihua expressed that he understood. Seems like Zhu Tian still wants to use that move to lure the snake out of its hole. Then I will let him use it and see if it is effective or not. The 2 beauties, one big and one small, were more or less finished, and Dong Huangli's stomach was already bulging up. It is a child's nature to sleep after eating. Yihua carried his daughter and brought his sister-in-law home. In the eyes of others, this was the rhythm of a family of 3. However, when they arrived at the entrance of Leisure Bar, a Bentley appeared at the entrance. Foreign car plate. The chauffeur immediately got off the car and opened the door. However, before the chauffeur opened the door, the back seat's door was already opened. A man and a woman could be seen getting off the car. Yihua recognized this man. He is Wang Debao, the man who lost to him while gambling. Wang Debao returned the money the next day. This woman's appearance is not bad, right? If I didn't guess wrongly, she should be Bai Cixin. Young Master Yi. Wang Debao and his wife Bai Cixin slowly walked over and shouted out respectfully. Yi Hua wrinkled his brows and said, "Call him boss, this young Master Yi sounds uncomfortable." "Alright, boss." Yi Hua nodded his head then walked towards leisure bar. Soon after, Yi Hua sat in the lounge and let Qing Yutong carry his daughter to the lounge to rest. After being chased out of the north by Voidless Realm, they were not welcomed in the south and could be counted as a street rat. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and said faintly, "Don't stand, sit." With a sincere smile on his face, Wang Debao sat down together with his wife Bai Cixin. If those deities were to see this, they would definitely cry out injustice. Why are they able to sit together with you and negotiate while we can't? Because Yi Hua felt that Wang Debao was an honest person. Unlike Xiao Yi, who would only submit to him because he was afraid of him, his first impression of Wang Debao was pretty good. Yi Hua's impression of the deities had never been very good. Yi Hua's impression of the deities was even worse than that of these ordinary humans. Even the auntie who was selling Chinese crepes at the entrance of the alley looked much more comfortable than the deities. Chapter 424. Speak, what did you come here for? Yi Hua asked. In actuality, there was no need to ask to know what they were trying to say. They wanted to hug onto Yi Hua's thigh. Wang Debao took out a card and placed it on the table. "Boss, this is a small gift for our first meeting. Please accept it." Looking at the bank card on the table, Yi Hua somehow felt that the other party was here to flaunt his wealth. "It's not that I don't have money. I am enjoying life, do you understand? You bunch of mortals, how can you understand my intentions? To actually use this kind of dirty money to bribe me. Do you really think that I am the kind of person who would be blinded by money? Take it away, I don't need it." Yi Hua's expression turned cold. The couple looked at each other. Wang Debao couldn't keep the card. Qing Yutong hid on the stairs and peeked at Yi Hua. "Brother-in-law, just what kind of situation is this? Don't act cool anymore, at least bring us to eat a sumptuous meal. It has been a long time since we last ate seafood. I miss lobsters. I feel hungry again." Bai Cixin actually took out 2 Farong Kings and said with a smile, "Boss, I know you like to smoke this, so I bought 2. "Put it here," he said. The fact that the man in front of her could accept her meant that it was a good thing. At the very least, he didn't have any evil intentions. "Boss, my wife and I don't have any intention of coming here today. We're just here to pay you a visit." Bai Cixin seemed to have become steadier and more cautious after going through this ordeal. "Just a visit? Get close to him. Then your goal has already been achieved." Yi Hua said faintly. "Didn't you say that you are here to pay a visit? Shouldn't it be time for me to leave?" Bai Cixin nodded and said with a smile, "Boss, there have been more foreigners in the south recently. The bar next to yours is also opened by a foreigner." After he finished speaking, Wang Debao and Bai Cixin obediently left the leisure bar. Yi Hua silently smoked his cigarette. Foreigner? According to Wei Chong, there were indeed a lot more foreigners recently. They are all people who want to take advantage of me. When the time comes, I will just have to do a big purge. A week passed quickly and everything was on track. Wei Chong and Tang Wei continued to work in leisure bar. Of course, there were also Green and Red brothers. It was just that it was hard for them to guard an empty bar. It was worth noting that Absolute Heaven had bought the Shao Mansion. After all, that place was indeed not bad. It was very suitable to be chosen as the headquarters of an aristocratic family. Moreover, it was a ready-made place. If the reconstruction would take a very long time, Yi Hua's order was to finish it as soon as possible. He bought the Shao residence and changed it into the Dongfang residence. Then he began to prepare to rope them in. The Dongfang family should be as popular as they were in the past. Otherwise, why would the other aristocratic families be jealous? If he wasn't jealous, how could he frame him? Everything was going according to Absolute Heaven's plan, without the slightest deviation. Dong Huangli was also sent back to Voidless Realm. Recently, Yi Hua had been a bit restless. His daughter's birthday was getting closer and closer, and this meant that the time for him to meet with Xianxia and Baiji was getting closer and closer. "I'm a little nervous, these 2 foolish women are actually able to make me feel uneasy, truly amazing. Brother-in-law, can you calm down for a bit? Zizi is still doing her homework," Qing Yutong said helplessly after walking out of the house. She was obviously excited to death, yet she still had an indifferent look on her face. Brother-in-law was really a man who cared about his reputation. Yi Hua lit up a cigarette and walked down the stairs. only to see that the bar was deserted. The waiters were standing there and chatting. However, Yihua actually saw Zhou Xian among the attendants. This group of shameless people, they are all here to take my money. Believe it or not, I will make all of you break up. Yihua quietly stood at the side and listened to what they were chatting about. Zhou Xian, I didn't expect that your honor's bar would be so miserable. Yihua, ever since your honor had your wife, the bar's business dropped by 90%. Tang Wei sighed with emotion. In the past, before your honor's wife appeared, the bar's business was too good. Big Brother Green said, I heard that the 7 bar next to us will be opening for business tomorrow, and they even invited quite a few celebrities over to help out. There are even Hollywood celebrities among them. Yi Hong said in a low voice, they might be able to drive our business along. Do I even need others to drive my business along? Cough. Seeing that his honor suddenly walked out of the bar, the 5 people immediately separated from each other and began wiping the spotless table. There really isn't a single person here. Could it be that I have to sell my body in exchange for popularity? While smoking, Yihua walked out of the bar, then turned his head around and looked at the 7 bar that was at the side. Yihua thought that the other party was a poor person, which was why he opened the bar here. Seems like the other party isn't a poor person, they came prepared to actually want to show off their strength to me. Good. I, the Supreme Overlord, will personally meet you all tomorrow and see just who exactly are you all. After walking out of the alley, Yihua went out to take a walk. However, he discovered that the 7 bars advertisements were everywhere on the street, and there was even a fleet of cars that were advertising all over the city. Shameless people, you think that you are amazing just because you have some stinky money. Don't wait for my wife to come back, she will slap your face every minute. Hee voidless realm. Dong Huangli was bouncing back and forth between the buildings. Right now, everyone recognized Dong Huangli, and when they saw her they all shouted out respectfully, we pay our respects to your highness. Dong Huangli was also very polite. When she saw a man she would call a man big brother, and when she saw a woman she would call a woman big sister. Dong Huangli was simply too likable. I even forgot about the bad things that the little fellow did. Your Highness, the Empress asked you to go back to eat. A maid suddenly landed beside Dong Huangli. After rubbing onto her stomach, Dong Huangli burped, then muttered, it's time to eat again. It is still better to eat at Daddy's place, I can lose weight. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji could be seen sitting at the table, chatting while waiting for the child to return. Mommy Qing. Right now, Dong Huangli was no longer afraid because her mother was no longer scolding her anymore. Dong Huang Baiji picked up her handkerchief and wiped off the sweat on her daughter's forehead. Where did you run off to this time? Your forehead is filled with sweat. Ali, of course I have to walk around, I have already become fat. Dong Huangli pinched onto her chubby little face, feeling very depressed. Mommy's place is filled with delicacies, while Daddy's place is filled with vegetables and carrots. Xianxia said with a smile. I wonder who it is. When Daddy just came back he looked as if he didn't eat anything for a few days. Daddy is so pitiful, he is always very frugal and only eats vegetables and carrots. Furthermore, the restaurant's business is not doing well, and there is even a bar that opened beside the restaurant to compete with the restaurant. Daddy is about to go bankrupt, and when the time comes, Ollie will have to go and eat dirt together with Daddy. Dong Huangli looked at the 2 adults and said pitifully, turning her father into a man who is about to go bankrupt. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze for a moment. Did this Yihua live such a miserable life? Xianxia thought about it and agreed. Back then when I met him I was still using Wei Chang's salary. From this, it can be seen how poor he is. Chapter 425. After the 2 women heard what Yihua said they were speechless. With Yihua's temperament, even if the sky were to collapse he would still want to act cool. How could he possibly go and jump into a river? Even if he jumped he wouldn't die from jumping. He was not worried at all. Seeing that Dong Huangli's mommy is actually not nervous at all, it seems like Daddy's death is not a threat to them at all. Mommy, Dong Huangli shouted out with her mushy voice. Hearing her daughter's tone, Dong Huang Baiji immediately knew what was going to happen. Dong Huang Baiji asked, what happened? Mommy, you actually asked me what's wrong? You don't even love Ali. It was normal that Papa didn't know his birthday, but Mama didn't even remember it. The baby was unhappy. Come and coax him. Xianxia took a look at Dong Huang Baiji. What happened to Ali? He was inexplicably angry. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly thought of it and said with a smile, Mommy, you're wrong. I forgot that Ali's birthday is coming up soon. Dong Huangli puffed out her cheeks and remained silent. Alright, what does Ali want this year? Mama will satisfy you, okay? Is that true? Dong Huangli asked while blinking her big eyes. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head with certainty. However, Dong Huangli looked towards Xianxia. Alright, Mommy Qing will agree to Ali's request. Xianxia smiled dotingly. Dong Huangli was very happy, but she still said faintly, I want Daddy and Mommy to be together. Zai, Ali is so sensible. If Yi Hua was half as sensible as Ali, how could I not return home? Towards Ali's wish, Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji did not know how to reply. Ali knows that Papa and Mama have misunderstood each other, so you don't have to go to each other. Ali will arrange a place and then we will go together, okay? After the two women heard what Yi Hua said, they felt that this was a good idea. Perhaps this is a chance for us to reconcile. Now it all depends on what Yi Hua says. As long as Yi Hua shows a bit of weakness to us, then we will forget about this matter and we will continue living our lives. After all, continuing on like this isn't a solution. Ali wants a complete family and not a single-parent family. Seeing that her mommy had agreed to her request, Dong Huangli was overjoyed. You have to cherish this opportunity and make up with each other. You can't quarrel anymore. If you quarrel, Ali has to coax you. As a child, it's really hard. On the second night, the 7 bar that was beside Yi Hua opened for business. Yi Hua sat in his office and listened to the clamor outside of the bar and the rumbling sound of the supercar, and he was a bit unhappy. This was a blatant provocation. He stood up and walked to the window only to see a sea of people. The young people waiting to enter were all lined up outside the alley. A few months ago, my leisure bar was also the same. I didn't expect that after a few months, my leisure bar would become so cold and cheerless. My leisure bar must have definitely been cursed by Xianxia and Baiji. This kind of thought was good enough to pass through his mind. It obviously wouldn't work. If he was really hung up and whipped, there would really be no hope for him. With an unhappy mood, Yi Hua walked down the stairs. It was completely empty. Seeing that his honor had gone up and down the stairs, Wei Chong and the others felt a bit awkward, not knowing how to comfort his honor. After all, doing business was inevitable. Anyway, it was already like this. He just needed to get used to it in the future. What are you looking at? I don't have to work. Yi Hua shouted out coldly. These subordinates of mine are all brainless. A few days ago I still wanted to say that they are smart, but right now, others are already doing things like this and you all are just staying here. Don't you all know how to go out and do things? Don't you know how to smash the place? Do you even need me to teach you how to do things? Seeing that his honor flew into a rage, everyone turned their heads around and went back to work. They even had to wipe a cup for a few hours. Sitting on the bar counter, the more Yi Hua thought about it, the more unhappy he became. They are already bullying me, I can't tolerate it. Little Green, come out with me. Yi Hua decided to bring one person along to smash the place. Why did he only bring one person? Because if there were more people, it would seem like he was going to bully others. Why did he bring Big Brother Green? Because he is the only one who is single. Why did he choose to be single? At the very least, within the entire team, Little Green is the only one who is single. Hearing that his honor called out to him, Big Brother Green immediately became alert. His honor is definitely going to help me find a wife. This is great. Right now, within the entire team, I am the only one who is single. This is very embarrassing. Look at my little brother, that beautiful wife, then look at me, that oily green head of mine. Yi Hua stood up and walked out of the leisure bar and Big Brother Green followed behind him. Little Green, do you know how to smash the place? Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and asked. Big Brother Green didn't dare to brag and said honestly, subordinate has always had this thought, but I have never tried it before. Do it tonight then. Yes. Smash the place. Just thinking about it made Big Brother Green's scalp go numb from excitement. This isn't as simple as smashing the place. This is smashing the place together with his honor. What kind of glory is this? His honor truly thinks too highly of me. I must definitely perform well tonight. The two walked towards the 7 bar that was at the side, and at the entrance of the bar, there were quite a few beautiful young ladies with their thighs exposed to the air. Yi Hua couldn't help but take a look at them. I wasn't like this in the past. I must have definitely been bewitched by Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji. Suddenly, one of the young ladies walked out from the group of young ladies. Yi Hua sneered. Yet another woman who was bewitched by me. It's a pity that I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to strictly reject you. A burst of fragrance drifted past. Yi Hua stopped his footsteps. I actually walked over. I, the supreme overlord, was actually ignored by a young lady. How is this possible? Are you alone? The questioning voice of a young lady rang out from behind. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. Little Green was actually struck up by a young lady. Why is my underling so outstanding? In actuality, Big Brother Green had quite a personality. Right now he was no longer that kind of afro hairstyle he had learned from his honor and combed his hair back. Furthermore, with the green windbreaker he looked a bit handsome, just like the villain clown. Girls still like this type of guy. With Yi Hua's cold face and his imposing aura, ordinary girls really didn't dare to get close to him. Looking at the young lady who was striking up a conversation with him, Big Brother Green did not have a happy look on his face. Instead, he was in a bad mood as he said gravely, "If I am not a human, what am I? Am I a pig?" After the young lady heard what Big Brother Green said, she went into a daze for a moment, then said with a smile, "Can I have your phone number?" Big Brother Green's expression immediately sunk as he said coldly, "Are you sick? My phone number is worth a few thousand. Can I give it to you?" This time the young lady really went into a daze. So he wasn't joking, he was straight. "Sorry for disturbing you," the young lady said, then ran back to her group of sisters. After that, she shared what happened just now with her sisters. She dares to bet that if this green hair is able to find a girlfriend, she will go and eat shit. Yi Hua patted onto Big Brother Green's shoulder. "Don't pay attention to this kind of woman, she always asks for this and that. With just a look, I can tell that she isn't a good person." Chapter 426. In the bedroom on the second floor of Leisure Bar, there was a flash in the void. Two beautiful figures appeared. It was actually Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji. If Yi Hua didn't leave the house and coincidentally met with the two women, his mood would definitely be very good. After all, the two wives took the initiative to look for him, and the two wives seemed to have the intention to let go of their relationship. However, it was a pity that Yi Hua had brought along Big Brother Green to smash the place. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji had pondered for a very long time before they decided to come over. For the sake of their children, they were willing to take a step back. This time, the reason why Donghuang Li came over was because he wanted to discuss with Yi Hua about Donghuang Li's birthday party. No matter what, Donghuang Li was the little highness of Voidless Realm, and her birthday party definitely had to be held in a grand manner. In actuality, this was only one aspect of it. The main reason was that he wanted to clear up those misunderstandings with Yi Hua. The two women looked at the neat and tidy bed. Yi Hua is actually not here and it is already 10 p.m. Was he watching cartoons in the office again? Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji pushed open the door and walked into the office. Yi Hua wasn't in his office either. Where did Yi Hua go? Donghuang Baiji asked curiously. Soon after, Xianxia pushed open the door of her little sister's room, and Yi Zizi could be seen obediently doing her homework with a cheerful smile on her face. Seems like Yi Zizi's mood is pretty good, she isn't complaining anymore. Meanwhile, Qin Yutong was playing games as usual, a fujoshi. "Yutong, where's your brother-in-law?" Xianxia asked. Qin Yutong took off her headphones and turned her head around to take a look. Yi Zizi was the same as well. "Big sister Baiji, you two have returned." Qin Yutong cried out in surprise, then gave her big sister a big hug. Then he pointed at his sister's stomach. "Damn, she's so big. She'll be giving birth in a few months." Xianxia smiled tenderly. "I will be giving birth around Chinese New Year." Yi Zizi put down her homework and ran over to Xianxia's stomach. "Sister-in-law, it's so big." Stroking onto Yi Zizi's head, Donghuang Baiji asked with a smile, "Are you obedient in school?" "Of course, I'm prepared to get first place." After the four of them asked about Xianxia's well-being, Xianxia once again asked, "Where did your brother-in-law go?" "Isn't brother-in-law in his office?" Qin Yutong asked puzzledly. "Oh, I just went to take a look." Qin Yutong thought for a bit, then said, "Recently the business has not been good and brother-in-law might be drinking to drown his sorrows downstairs. However, if he knows that you two have returned, he will definitely be extremely happy." Hearing that, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji smiled. Of course he would be happy. "Now that I'm back, I'm sure that he'll be preaching to me again." Soon after, the two women walked down the stairs and discovered Yi Hua was not in Leisure Bar. "Lady Boss!" Wei Chong exclaimed. The two lady boss had actually returned. Xianxia felt that it was very strange. Yi Hua was a deep otaku. If he could not go out, then he would definitely not go out. However, within the crowd, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji noticed Zhou Xian. This made them recall those deities and the matter of Yihua appearing in Ji family back then. Today I have to properly ask Yihua about this matter. In the future I won't be able to hide this matter from my wives anymore. What about Yihua? Xianxia asked. Boss. Wei Chong suddenly hesitated because they had just been discussing this problem. Why did his honor bring along Big Brother Green and not someone else? Afterward, Wei Chong came up with a hypothesis. Could it be that his honor used the excuse of smashing the bar to relax his mood? After all, his honor seemed to be very easily angered these few days, and he would frequently drink here and there. Right now his honor's wife suddenly came back. If his honor were to find out that his honor went to the bar at the side to look for excitement, what would happen? This is a happy event turning into a bad thing. This made Wei Chong stop talking. It would have been fine if Wei Chong didn't stop, but the moment Wei Chong stopped, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji immediately frowned. Could it be that Yihua went to look for the young miss? This kind of terrifying thought immediately emerged in the two women's minds, and their originally gentle expression immediately turned cold. I have already disregarded my former enmity and came over to show weakness, and yet in the end, you went to look for the young miss. Aren't you angry? We are simply about to explode from anger. Speak. Where did Yihua go? Donghuang Baiji asked coldly. Xianxia's face was also sunken. For the two of them who are such strong women, to be able to tolerate each other, that is already a miracle. If the two of them were to find out that Yihua had a woman outside, they would definitely go berserk. The boss went out for a walk. Wei Chong hurriedly explained, helping his honor cover up. This was simply a blatant act of concealment. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji don't believe that Yihua would rather sit at home and watch the happy scene than go out for a walk. In the past they would only be able to drag Yihua out for a walk after coaxing and pestering him. Xianxia shouted out towards Tang Wei, "Xiao Tang, you speak." Tang Wei didn't know what to say. Should I listen to Uncle Wei or should I listen to your wife? Tang Wei's hesitation allowed Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji to be sure that Yihua definitely went out to do something shameful. If not, why didn't these people say anything? Upon thinking that Yihua was currently rolling around in bed with another woman, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji's eyes started emitting flames. "Yihong, you speak," Xianxia said coldly. Yihong took a look at Uncle Wei, then looked at his wife, then said while stammering, "I don't know." What a good explanation. Xianxia slammed onto the table. "Speak. If not, I will tear down this place today." Donghuang Baiji was so angry that her chest was heaving up and down. "Later on I will definitely catch that mistress and ruthlessly torture her. To even dare to seduce my man." Wei Chong felt that if he didn't speak, the lady boss would definitely fly into a rage. "Lady boss, don't misunderstand, the boss just went to the bar next to us to smash up the place. He definitely didn't go there to pick up girls." Tang Wei felt helpless. "Uncle Wei, hurry up and stop explaining. Your explanations are getting more and more messy. You are simply messing up the situation." Xianxia said angrily, "All right, when we are not here he dares to go out and pick up girls. This is infuriating. Xianxia, let's go and catch the adulterer." "All right." After finished speaking, the two women immediately rushed out of the bar. Tang Wei said helplessly, "Uncle Wei, you are definitely going to be the scapegoat." Yihong and Zhou Xian silently nodded their heads. Wei Chong was very puzzled. "Why am I the scapegoat? I already explained it to you just now." "You might as well not have explained it all." Tang Wei shook her head. "Everything about Uncle Wei is good, just that he is too honest." Yihua still didn't know that his wives had arrived and was currently walking towards the entrance of the bar. Since he wanted to stir up trouble, Yihua definitely wouldn't follow the rules. "You all can line up, I will directly walk into the bar. If you all have the ability, then go ahead and stop me. That would be giving me the chance to fly into a rage." However, even though Yihua's idea was good, Yihua brought Big Brother Green and directly walked into the bar. Those foreign security guards didn't say anything. It was as if I have a VIP card. Yihua sneered in his heart. "At least you all have good eyesight, knowing that I am here to smash up the place. I reckon that you all won't give me the chance to fly into a rage." Chapter 427. Little Green. Let's begin. Yihua said coldly. "For the business here to be so good, all of the customers must definitely be hired." Big Brother Green did not dare to be careless. If he wanted to cause trouble, it would mean that he was going to cause trouble for no reason. Looking around, he saw that all of the booths were full, and there were still a lot of people who were still standing. This was his chance. Waiter. Get over here. If they wanted to smash the place, they had to have the momentum to do so. A foreign waiter walked over respectfully. What kind of service is this? Where are the seats? Don't tell me you want us to drink standing up. Big Brother Green questioned Yi Hua sternly. Yi Hua was very satisfied. This is the rhythm, I will slowly blow up the matter. The waiter paused and said, there is still an empty seat. Please follow me. Big Brother Green was speechless. Who are you trying to fool? Is there room for so many people? However, there was indeed a booth that wasn't occupied. This made Big Brother Green very speechless. His first act of showing off got stuck in his throat and was unable to come out. What would you like to drink? The waiter asked respectfully. Big Brother Green had another excuse. Give me the best wine you have here. My boss wants to drink. Okay, wait a moment. Everything was going according to plan. After they drank it, they would say that it was fake. Then they would ask for compensation and cause trouble. Yi Hua didn't speak. He discovered that there were a lot of unusual people at the scene, and these foreigners should have another identity. Soon, a bottle of 1982 Lafite was served. There were also professionals opening, decanting and pouring the wine. Yi Hua and Big Brother Green picked up their wine glasses and drank a mouthful of wine. Puff. Big Brother Green directly spurted out his saliva. Yi Hua, on the other hand, wasn't so exaggerated as to spit out his saliva. *CK what kind of alcohol is this? Even King 82 Coke is better than this. Big Brother Green shouted out angrily. Yi Hua leaned on the sofa and listened to what Big Brother Green said. The reason why I brought Big Brother Green out was because I wanted to relax a bit. The waiter paused for a moment, then smiled and said, I'll change it for you. Soon, another bottle of Chateau Lafite arrived and he repeated what he had just done. Then Big Brother Green spurted out again, you guys are scamming the consumers. Change again. Big Brother Green was speechless. He had never seen someone with such a good temper. Even after such a ruckus, he could still endure it. Another bottle. Big Brother Green changed its mode. Although it also sprayed out, it didn't need to change. I'm not drinking. This wine is too fake, pay up. The waiter asked doubtfully, how much? Big Brother Green took a look at his honor, who didn't say anything, then said, 100 million. Okay, I'll go and ask my superiors. After saying that, he turned around and left. If Big Brother Green doesn't even have a reaction after all this, then he really has to give up. If you have such a good temper, then don't open a bar because you will go bankrupt. However, Yi Hua didn't think so. It seems like the other party knew that I was coming. Hello, Boss Yi. A stiff Chinese voice suddenly sounded. Yi Hua and Big Brother Green looked over, and two Western women could be seen appearing in front of them. This is actually a pair of twins. They are exactly the same, no matter if it is their hairstyle, clothes or figure, they are just like one person. She had a strong Western beauty, and her blonde hair was naturally hanging down to her waist. Her eyes were dark blue and her skin was as white as paper. Yi Hua appeared to be very calm and collected. No matter how good-looking I am still not as beautiful as Xianxia and Baiji. If I had to insist on having an advantage, then it would be the advantage of being twins. Moreover, it was a pair of vampire twins. Yi Hua was able to see through the two women's true bodies in an instant. Interesting. Big Brother Green looked at the pair of twins and almost drooled. Your Honor, can I have them? Can I have some restrictions too? What distance? Time? You two know me? Yi Hua asked. Of course, I am ashamed to open a bar beside Boss Yi. My name is Serena, and this is my younger sister, Serena. We are Europe's sucking blood clan. Big Brother Green took in a mouthful of cold air. Vampire, your sister. Just pretend that I didn't say anything, Your Honor. Please don't be tricked. Yi Hua's interest was immediately piqued. Interesting, this is too unexpected. They actually admitted their identity. So you two are from the sucking blood clan. No wonder you two are so beautiful. Yi Hua said faintly. Serena smiled lightly. Thank you for your compliment, Boss Yi. Can we sit down? Of course. Yi Hua's interest was piqued. Serena could be seen sitting beside Yi Hua. Although they weren't very close to each other, they still gave off a kind of ambiguous feeling. Serena waved her hand towards the waiter, and the waiter bowed and left. Boss Yi, you wouldn't look down on us being from the sucking blood clan, right? Serena asked tenderly. Yi Hua was quite fond of different races because he was also a different race. No, but why did you two suddenly appear here? Yi Hua asked curiously. Boss Yi, to tell you the truth, my younger sister and I are not only from the Sucking Blood clan, we are also exorcists. We wander around the world and we heard that demons are running rampant in the south, so we wanted to come and help, that's all. Serena didn't hide anything. Why are you telling me the truth? Yi Hua asked. Serena said seriously, Boss Yi, we investigated you before coming here, please forgive us. Although we didn't find anything valuable, my older sister and I feel that you are a good person. The reason why Long'an City is so safe should be because of you, Boss Yi. Why is this woman's sixth sense so accurate? It is such a waste that you two didn't go and buy lottery tickets. Boss Yi, my younger sister and I feel extremely honored to be able to meet you in person. There are too few righteous people like you nowadays. Serena was definitely trying to flatter Yi Hua, but this was what Serena really wanted to say. Although the two sisters were from the Sucking Blood clan, they never did anything evil. They even built their own exorcism team to eliminate demons all over the world. Making such a big scene, you two actually wanted me to come here, right? Yi Hua didn't expect that these two women were actually quite smart. We hope that Boss Yi can forgive us for using such a method. The two sisters said apologetically. Say it, what do you two want? Serena paused for a moment and said, Boss Yi, my younger sister and I want to use this place as our base of operations to start our exorcism work. They are quite smart. By putting their base of operations right beside me, no one would dare to touch them anymore. But sometimes, it isn't good to be too smart. They actually used me as their protective umbrella. What you two want to do has nothing to do with me, but what do you want to use me for? If that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Yi Hua said coldly, warning them not to think too much and to just open your bar honestly. The two sisters hurriedly agreed and swore that they definitely wouldn't dare to have any evil thoughts. Boss Yi, don't worry, my younger sister and I definitely won't give you any trouble. Yi Hua felt that these two women were quite normal. They didn't try to seduce him with their looks. Yo, not bad, beautiful sisters, not giving me any trouble. A sour tone sounded out. Yi Hua paused for a moment. Chapter 428. Hearing this familiar voice, Yi Hua became happy and slowly raised his head. They are still the same, they did not become uglier. It's just that Xianxia's belly has become much bigger. It must have been hard on her. However, what is with that look on their faces? They actually suspect that I am picking up girls? These two foolish women, if I really wanted to pick up girls, do you think that I would be discovered by the two of you? Why are you two here? Although I am very happy in my heart, I cannot show it, lest you two discover that I am very sad when I leave you two, or that I am very happy when I see you two return. Yi Hua's attitude made Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji very unhappy. In any case, we haven't seen each other for more than a month, and now that we have met, you are still picking up girls, and you are even giving us an expression as if we are disturbing you from picking up girls. Angry, very angry. Let's go. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji turned around and left. This caused Yi Hua to go into a daze. What is the meaning of this? Leaving right after coming here? I haven't even taught you two a lesson yet. Furthermore, this is my territory. Is it a place where you two can come and go as you please? Yi Hua stood up and followed after them. These are the two lady boss's wives? As expected, they are as beautiful as goddesses. Selena muttered, and envy could be seen in her eyes. Big Brother Green took a glare at the two sisters. You two have caused trouble. What should we do then? Selena asked anxiously. Big Brother Green has to think of a way for his honor. Yi Hua, who was following after them, snorted. Stop right there. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji, who were in front of Yi Hua, didn't pay attention to Yi Hua at all and walked out of 7 bar. Yi Hua followed closely behind them. Looking at the two familiar back figures that were carrying traces of stubbornness, Yi Hua sighed in his heart. I can't even afford to offend these two women, let alone others. I have been in a cold war for more than a month. Although I have been wanting to teach them a lesson, I have been missing them more and more. Now that they have come to find me, they definitely have the intention to lower their heads. Since that's the case, I have to give them a way out. Yi Hua could be seen walking forward with large strides, one on each hand, and hugging the two wives into his embrace. What a familiar feeling. The fragrance that their bodies are emitting is still the same, the softness is still the same. It has been more than a month, but it feels like a few years. Let go. Let me go. The two little wildcats struggled with all their might. And right at this moment, Yihua decided to use a big move that would definitely be able to destroy the weakest line of defense in the two little wildcats' hearts. It wasn't that I, the Supreme Overlord, was bragging, but the moment I said this sentence, I guarantee that the two little wildcats would be bewitched to the point that they wouldn't be able to find their north, and they would be completely defeated within my chest. I miss you guys. Even though they were just 5 simple words, they contained the might of the heavens and earth, and they swept over with a momentum that could cause the seas to dry up and the rocks to crumble. Of course I, the Supreme Overlord, don't really want it, I just want it a little bit, don't misunderstand. Whoever misunderstood would be silenced. As expected, the two wild cats in his arms gradually stopped moving. These 5 words were also what they were thinking in their hearts, and these 5 words instantly opened up their thoughts. Just like what Yihua had said, they were drunk. Facing against their husband's sweet offensive, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were utterly defeated. Yihua had never said such words to them before, and at most he would give them all kinds of lessons. Seeing that his wives had softened, Yihua exerted strength into his arms, allowing them to feel the heat of my chest. This way they would no longer be able to leave my body. Don't say it. Lai Gu's plan is not bad. Hugging on to the most beautiful woman in the world, this feeling is not an ordinary feeling of beauty. If I were to use a word to describe this feeling, that would be, this feels great. After hugging for a long while, Yihua said faintly, let's go home. Soon after, he let go of his wives, held onto their hands and walked towards the bar that was completely empty. However, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were just like 2 daughters-in-law that had yet to marry into their family, and their faces were completely red. In their hearts, they were cursing at Yihua for being shameless. To actually use a sweet offensive, making it impossible for them to guard against it. In Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji's hearts, they never would have thought that Yihua would say such a thing. Those 5 words were too enchanting, and even their hearts were intoxicated by them. When Yihua appeared in the bar while holding on to his wives, Wei Chong and the others were so shocked that their jaws were about to drop out. Don't look at how his honor's expression was calm, but the corner of his mouth that was slightly arched upwards was announcing to everyone that the 2 women were once again taken care of by me. No matter how much they jump, they will not be able to escape from my palms. His honor is too awesome. Just a moment ago his honor's wife ran out of the bar angrily, and in the blink of an eye his honor walked back into the bar shyly. Just what method did his honor use to coax his honor's wife? This is simply too miraculous. As expected of his honor, his magic is boundless. Holding on to his honor's tender hands, Yihua felt that he had a lot of face in front of his subordinates. Tonight I have to properly relive the pleasure I had back then. Lai Gu has a good saying, when women are bored they will make a fuss. Therefore only by making them not feel bored will I be able to not feel bored. For example, sleeping until the afternoon. Then how am I supposed to sleep until the afternoon? I have to stay up all night, but what am I supposed to stay up all night for? What else can I do? A man and a woman, could it be that they are going to stay up all night to play games? Yihua, wait a minute. Donghuang Baiji suddenly shouted out tenderly. Hearing this voice, Yihua's chest trembled. Thinking back to that night 3 years ago, Donghuang Baiji was still relatively young and inexperienced, and right now she was just like a ripe peach waiting for him to spoil. Yihua asked faintly, what's wrong? First I played the good cop and now I played the bad cop to let them know that I am the head of the family. Zishan, you are a deity, right? Donghuang Baiji suddenly asked. Yihua was startled. How did Baiji know that Zishan is a deity? Back then, when Ho Xuelin's 3 subordinates brought the portrait of Zishan to look for Donghuang Baiji, Yihua knew that Zishan was a deity. Zishan nodded her head. That's right. Yihua, sit down first, this is a very troublesome matter. Qingyu was worried. Back then, after that crown prince ran away, he will definitely come back. At that time there will definitely be more people coming. Yihua did not say anything and directly sat down. Zishan, the deity, sent 2 groups of people over, and there is also a crown prince. Qingya's tone was filled with worry, completely unaware that Yihua had already exterminated the royal family. Zishan said in a low voice, Lady Boss, you can be at ease, I have already come to an agreement with the other side, and the misunderstanding has already been resolved. Fortunately, I met the boss and it was him who pulled me out from the abyss of pain. Then I met Yihong, I am very happy right now. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were a bit surprised, and they turned their heads around and looked towards Yihua. Yi Hua lit up a cigarette and nodded his head. Yi Hua, back then were you at Ji family? Qingye asked curiously. Yi Hua puffed out a mouthful of smoke. That's right, I met Zhou Xian at Ji family. Chapter 429. As for why, how can I just sit and do nothing when Ji family did such a thing that angered even the gods? They used such cruel methods to kill hundreds of family heads. If no one comes forward to give them an explanation, how can the souls of the deceased rest in peace? Yi Hua's acting skills had improved by another level. It was clearly you who arranged for Zhu Tian to let those people in, then use someone else to do the dirty work for you. After that, you even went over to kill those people with a strong sense of righteousness. Seeing that the two women were not speaking, Yi Hua said gravely, if the two of you feel that what I did was wrong, then leave. Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. Hearing what Yi Hua said, the two women's hearts trembled. Their hearts are tied up by Yi Hua. It is impossible for them to leave. After saying what Yi Hua said, Yi Hua became rather nervous. This is a gamble. If I win the gamble, they won't say anything about what I do in the future. If I lose, it would be game over. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji let out a deep sigh, then sat beside Yi Hua and held onto his hand, using their actions to show that they were standing on their husband's side. Seeing that your wife is so understanding of his honor, Wei Chong felt at ease. However, if Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were to find out that Yi Hua was still lying to them, they would definitely explode. From a small lie at the start, to using even more lies to cover up that lie, gradually it became a huge lie. I never lie, and even if I lie, it is a white lie. Boss. Lady Boss. You two misunderstood, they are my girlfriends. Big Brother Green could be seen pulling Serena and running into the shop. Big Brother Green's method was to let the two sisters pretend to be his girlfriends and dispel his wife's suspicions. This made Big Brother Green become even more ruthless. While pulling the two vampires, his entire body felt numb. Big Brother, why did you bring two vampires with you? Yihong was dumbstruck. I only left for half an hour and this happened. They are even more awesome than me, and they are even two foreign ladies, they are exactly the same. Big Brother Green glared at his underling. What do you know? This is true love, Lady Boss. Don't misunderstand. Yi Hua carried the two wives and went upstairs. Qingye turned her head around and said with a smile, there is no misunderstanding, you two can get along well. Big Brother Green was a bit stupefied. What is going on? Why is the Lady Boss so happy? Big Brother, the Lady Boss did not misunderstand anything. Yihong explained. No. Then what was the point of acting holding the hands of two vampires? Big Brother Green hurriedly let go of Serena's hands. Thinking about that vampire's original form, his entire body felt goosebumps. The two sisters pursed their lips, feeling a little shy. They had never been held by a man in their lives, and their first time was given to the same man. Was this fate? Nice to meet you guys. Feel free to drop by whenever you have time. The two sisters said their goodbyes and hurriedly went back. Tang Wei watched as the two beautiful sisters ran away, then looked at Big Brother Green, who had an uncomfortable expression on his face. LV Liang, your luck with women isn't bad, ah. Sister-in-law, don't tease me anymore, those two are vampires, they are just like mosquitoes that suck human blood. Upon thinking about it, Lulu's entire body went numb. Don't, even if you beat me to death, I don't want it. Is that so? I think they're interested in you. Zishan also began to tease LV Tao. Those two sisters are rather pure, which means that they are both good women. Lulu laughed dryly. Zishan, don't mess with me, we can't do that. Everyone laughed but didn't say anything. Although it was a bit of a joke, this joke was pretty good too. Yi Hua carried his two wives and directly came to the bedroom. This caused Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's hearts to be in a mess, as if this was the first time they came to the bedroom. Do I shower first, or do you two shower first? Yi Hua looked at his two wives and was already unable to hold back his impatience. A raging fire was already burning in his stomach, and he wished that he could bite the two of them into pieces. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji escaped from their husband's embrace and held hands, looking just like a frightened rabbit. And right now Yi Hua was the big bad wolf. Yi Hua Yui. Qingye didn't know what to say anymore. Donghuang Baiji's heart was beating rapidly. I was clearly angry at Yi Hua, why did it become like this? Yi Hua said indifferently, Qingye, Baiji, this bedroom has created two lives. Don't the two of you want to enjoy the process of creating two lives? Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were startled. If we don't leave now and get caught by Yi Hua, We will be dead for sure. That ferocious night was still vivid in their minds. Although we have reconciled now, you can't. Dong Huang Baiji said hurriedly. She wasn't mentally prepared at all. Xianxia said in a low voice, let's go. Yihua sneered, want to leave? How can it be that easy? Yihua grabbed towards Dong Huang Baiji, who was the closest to him. Xianxia, save me. Dong Huang Baiji was immediately pulled out by Yihua, and Xianxia was lucky enough to escape from this calamity. Yihua didn't mind. In any case, the two of them wouldn't be serving me together, so I'll just grab one of them first and settle the raging fire within my body. Dong Huang Baiji tried to push Yihua away with all her might and begged, Yihua, don't be like this, I am still not ready yet. This begging tone of hers caused Yihua's bestial nature to become even more berserk. These two women's appearance had already reached the pinnacle of perfection, and only an outstanding man like me would be able to enjoy their delicate bodies. Your Majesty, let me serve you in bed tonight. With a crafty smile on his face, Yihua said gravely. Upon hearing this, Dong Huang Baiji's heart was about to jump out. Yihua, don't woo. Before Dong Huang Baiji could finish speaking, Yihua sealed Dong Huang Baiji's cherry lips, and Dong Huang Baiji's hands even more ferociously tore off the clothes on the Empress's body. After revealing that indescribable body of hers, Yihua became even more greedy. He ruthlessly pressed the Empress onto the bed and enjoyed the pleasure that was brought to him by every inch of her skin. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Baiji's beautiful face was about to drip blood. This kind of redness spread throughout her entire body, making her look even more alluring. Yihua, Dong Huang Baiji couldn't help but call out to Yihua. The fire in her heart had already been ignited by her husband. The meaning of this sentence was very clear. Don't torture me anymore, hurry up. Yihua enjoyed the pleasure that was brought to him by his wife's body and said in a low voice. Baiji, give me another child. And Dong Huang Baiji let out a nasal sound, and her pair of beautiful eyes were filled with tears. This wasn't because she was moved, this was because she was about to go berserk from being kissed by her husband. Yihua ruthlessly penetrated into her body. After 3 years, he was once again able to enjoy the Empress's gentle beauty. The feeling he felt was still as explosive as before, and in fact he was even more excited than back then. Meanwhile, the Empress's pair of delicate hands were grabbing onto her husband's back, and her fingernails were already digging into Yihua's flesh. It was clear that she was a bit unable to endure it, and on her face, there was a look of pain and happiness. Half an hour later. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.